Oh.
Is it?
Thank you for the tip.
It doesn't matter, they're all.
Oh, is that my name? Well, it's personal. Do you think they're all the same? I have two.
Yes, I know they're all the same.
I did it. I didn't remember last night.
Oh, no, that's
Uh,
I don't know.
Which one did you give me?
I don't know.
It's fine. I can't see.
That's for next week.
Awesome.
Okay. I think I gave away.
Did you have one? I have one that I picked up yesterday. Oh,
I'll take Sandy's. Okay.
I do not, yeah. All right. Yeah, I was in it last night.
See that coming up. I just did search.
The highway. Yeah. Hello.
How are you doing?
Sure, how are you?
How are you?
Okay, I think we can get started. Normally the selectmen's budget is big and long, so we'll try to go through it as much as fast as we can. I think it's fairly straightforward, however. Let's begin with the review of the minutes. Do you have any observations in the minutes?
I did not read the minutes in great detail. I did notice that under when Article 4 was discussed, seems like although certain things were said, I think the minutes saying who said them may not be correct.
Okay.
I have a
So,
recommendation, we were just talking, if we could, approve them next week, please got them yesterday afternoon.
Oh, all right, sure.
And so I don't know if any of us have even had a chance to look at them.
That's fine, that's a good idea. I do appreciate people studying the minutes beforehand,
Yeah.
they should,
Yeah.
so we can speak to it intelligently. I would like to point out though that the bottom of the first page is a good example of Jamie's carryover. Did you see that last paragraph on the first page of reminding us that we should ask about the activities of our explosive stock come next September for the mid-year review. So that's good, that's exactly I think what we have in mind for that. Okay, so if, I'll take a motion and we put that
I'll
off for
second
next week.
tabling.
That was your motion?
Sure.
Okay, and we got a second from Jamie. All those in favor of postponing these minutes until, did you say next week?
Next week.
Next week, I think we can do that. But please, let's read them over carefully and have any objections, whatever, ready to go. So we can get that on. All right, good.
You need a vote? Want to take a vote?
Yes, we do. All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Okay, do you oppose? Okay, highway superintendent is here, which is good timing. And we'll begin with the highway budget, that is tab 14. Glenn, any observations about the highway budget?
No, I think it's hopefully we're in good shape.
All right,
Everything in here we need.
okay. Any questions on the highway budget?
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm just curious about under the wages for, the grounds, highway part, town grounds.
Please, I didn't.
Yeah, I just have a question about the wages, about the town grounds. What, I have noticed, I've observed that some of the grounds in town are maintained by the highway department and some are not. Some are maintained by the other contractor, is that correct? Okay. So,
Which ones you talking?
well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So which ones is
Okay.
this wages
You talking
encompassing?
like the lawns?
Yeah, the lawns,
Because all lawns is subcontracted out.
all of them. So the lawns at South Newington are
Right.
the basketball courts? Okay.
Library, cemetery, those are all done by outside contractors.
But the wages includes the cost of the contractors?
Actually, those are just for the highway crew.
Okay. I
They
did
do
think
the
that-
mowing at Fox Point.
It would go up some, you know, from about 25,000 more than what was budgeted for. What was that reason for that?
Say that again?
It looks like it's gone up to 25,000 from, that's 2018, I'm sorry. You had a big jump in 2018 and you adjusted it. Okay. So what was, maybe you can go back and explain to me why in 2018 you wound up spending more money, which necessitated a higher increase?
Mostly it was because you can't get any CDL plow drivers, plow and small wages, you have to pay good size wages to get a CDL driver. And that's what's required by state. in order to make it work.
Okay, so that really hit us this current year, 2019, actually hit us in 2018. Okay.
Len, how many CDL drivers do you have, especially for plowing? There's 6. And what type of hours do they do per week in the winter time?
It all depends on the storm, but usually most of them get, 20 hours for a storm.
And per diem, so it could be 20 hours this week, it could be 0 hours next week.
That'd be nice.
Any other questions?
I have another question, sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, go
The Woodbury Ave, additional hours for maintenance, so we took that road over this fall, is that correct?
Taking over.
Yes, and so we are now responsible for maintaining that. And the medians in that road, were those cleaned, or what is the status of that cleanup situation? Cause
The
they were a
islands?
mess. Yeah, the islands, yes,
And then have the trees planted in them.
yes,
They're gonna be taken care of supposedly by a outside contractor, watered. They're supposed to be plants that won't have to be watered 2 or 3 times a year.
okay, so
And just gardens alongside them, and then take care of it.
Emily, we did ask or place a complaint that the grass, so-called, that they planted was actually 100% crabgrass.
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean,
It was the best.
I know.
okay.
And just to follow up on that, the state is still responsible for fixing the problems that we have with Woodbury. They're going to be getting back out there in the spring to finalize everything. We have not made our payment to them yet, waiting for everything to be finished.
Okay.
Is that something you got from Cumberland and Pavement?
That'll come off the major roads capital.
Okay, side of that, okay. I do have a question though. We were up 31,000 on road salt. And the explanation is, well, we took over Woodbury Ave. Yet on the first page, we're paying somebody $70,000 for Woodbury Ave. Don't they bring their own salt? Contractors take our salt from our pile?
We're providing salt.
We give them the salt, they still
Because we, it should be that way, because we buy salt.
They load up at the garage?
Yes, they do.
Any other questions?
Are there any, go ahead.
Well, I guess a question, so much to the comment is, I mean, that is, I mean, almost 100,000 for the salt. I guess my concern about salt is, also, I guess we have a salt school symposium, so I guess they're educating the drivers how to apply salt.
Yeah.
And I understand that essentially the thing about salt is it has to be applied at very specific times for it to be effective. You know, usually like right before it snows. Like you can't just dump the salt on top of the snow where it's essentially does nothing. So, So basically, I mean, I kind of read a report on how salt is applied, and it was complicated, and there's these sort of delicate timing issues of when you apply the salt. And my concern is we're spending this huge amount of money on salt, and we wanna make sure that if we are buying salt, that it's actually being used in an effective manner. Like where I came from, I would often see the trucks just, I mean, they would just come by and be spraying the salt all over the snow, and you could just see, they were just spraying it because they were told to spray it. But when you put it on top of 6 inches of snow, it isn't gonna do anything. It has to be put the underlayment for it to melt anything. So I just wanna make sure that, or make people aware that that money's wasted unless the salt is applied in the proper manner.
What we try to do is maybe just a stone, we want to put a layer of salt down. We use treated salt here, we don't use straight white salt, we use treated salt, which acts quicker, faster, and works at a lower temperature than normal salt. And so we go up for a little bit, when it gets snowing a lot, we don't salt anymore, we just plow. Until we come to the intersections, and we just salt the intersection. So we don't salt it all during a storm. And when the storm is done, then we put the salt back on again and try to get it back flat.
I see.
Otherwise.
So there is an effort to do it in a sensible manner.
So that they're not salt continuously. But when it's storm, we just quit the salt. And just plow and do intersections and hills. And curves, because a lot of cars do not want to slow down or something along the line, so we're on the curve, and we try to do the curve. Straight stretches we don't.
Did the price go up this year on salt?
No.
I mean, if the bulk budget's up a third, and Woodbury Avenue is a third of all town roads added together, do you have to salt that all at the time? Does it have to travel to over salt use or something?
Yeah. That's like 3-lane highway, each way,
Right, yeah.
3 lanes, so that's gonna, we didn't know, we just took it all got shot at that one.
We'll see.
How much salt do you buy at once? You don't buy it all a year's worth?
No, I use about 100 tons at a time.
Okay. So if you don't use the, if you have a lucky year, you don't need the money, it's not gonna be sitting there in the salt market.
That's true, I don't.
Cash in hand.
Because, right down here from, right here in Newington, you just make a call in the morning, I get a nap.
You get it from the pile of iceberg.
Right.
Well, we don't pick it up, they actually deliver it. Dump it in the shed.
Seems like it's very expensive for us to take on a road. Do we see any more expansion of more roads that we have to take care of going forward? Or is this like it, we're not creating any new roads?
That was another.
Maybe I can answer that. The state wants to give up all their roads.
I understand that, trying to push the
And
buck
so
to,
we're very gingerly, when we talk with them, like, Newington Road, which we take care of, they take care of Newington Road up to the Pease line, and we take from Pease line in. We're very careful of what we ask for there, or what we do, because we don't want to take over the rest of Newington Road all the way to the Greenland line.
yes.
And it's like Gosling Road, which is another one, at the intersection there, where we share with Portsmouth. The state, and everybody wants to give up their roads. They're
Yes.
costly, and it's easy, and they have the right to just force it on us. So we fought, in fact, this road here, it took, what, 3 years, we sat down with the commissioner of the highways, and they wanted us to take it 2 or 3 years ago, and we pushed it off for that, so we saved buying a new truck for a couple of years, and we saved the 70,000-ish a year to take care of it, or whatever it's gonna cost us. So, yeah, nobody wants to take over roads. It's too costly.
Road was a state road.
Right.
Yeah,
So we don't have a full calendar year
We
yet.
have no real control of that, is what we're trying to say.
that's right, that's correct, Doctor.
We don't have a full calendar year of outsourcing costs for the Woodbury Ave project here yet.
We just took it over in October.
Right, so you think next budget cycle, we're gonna look at if it's appropriate to outsource or take care of it ourselves?
We'll analyze it at the end of this season and see where we are, the costs are, and evaluate.
it's outsourced out, that's a good discussion for
I think it's the same,
Right.
I think it's the same people who do the Portsmouth.
Carry over.
I think it's the same outfit that does Portsmouth and the Woodbury, isn't it?
Yes.
This is all them.
Yes, we went off a bid and they got the bid. I think it's good for continuity. They're doing
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole Woodbury
Just
Avenue.
keep on pushing.
Also, road too, Mr. Chairman.
Favorite topic, how we doing, what's our road plan for resurfacing this year? What was expected to be done this year and what wasn't completed and what's encumbered?
Everything that was planned on was completed. Some of the projects were not as expensive as we had anticipated or that Rockingham Planning Commission had, told us to budget. So we do have some funds left over that are going back to the general fund.
How much? 56,000, 55,000, 119.
The under resurfacing, we've got roughly 56,000 that remains.
And that's going back to general fund?
Right. And also under road surface maintenance or the crack sealing, we had a budget of 4,000 and we spent 2,600.
Can you help me understand why we've got 43,000?
I'm reading that right, for, 394 for 2020, so we go from something that's 2,600 up to 43,000, or am I not reading it correctly?
You're reading it
Yes,
correctly.
and that is for, if you move to your, road surface report, the pages aren't numbered, but it is the report that's titled 4.2 2020 recommendations. There are four items for crack sealing. The McIntyre Road, the rest of it, you might have noticed that part of that road was crack sealed. The remainder still needs to be done from the town line or from the
Over the hill, up to the
from
state.
the hill at the airport to the sign where it changes to Newington Road. And, we also have Old Post Road that needs to be done, part of Fox Point Road, only the part from the intersection back towards Jack's house. The
Wait till
rest
I-
is on hold.
Is that gonna wait till after the million-pound trucks are done?
Yes.
Back and forth?
Yes, that all the roads probably, Eversource at a meeting yesterday kinda indicated a lot of it will be done by the summer or spring, and then all the roads will be reevaluated. As you know, we hired somebody to evaluate all the roads to see where they are, take pictures, film, so we have that, we'll review that and go over it and see where we are before we put anything into the roads.
So we expect a possibility that some of this budget may be offset from some other source of revenue.
Keep our fingers crossed, Jack.
That's a carryover item.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be accused of being the second, sorry, Jim, the second coming of the bunker gear guy every year, but this is what is an issue with me. We budgeted $43,000, we spent 2,600. All of that remainder goes back into the general fund, which goes wherever we see fit, I guess, without reducing the tax rates. It certainly doesn't just stay there. And now we have to appropriate the money again. And why didn't that get done? Why did we spend the $43,000 that were appropriated?
So we actually didn't budget last year for 43,000.
I apologize, you're right.
You
That-
budgeted 26.
You did,
We
you did
have, you raise it
24,000.
one year, you need to give it back, so when you raise it the next year, it's really a wash because you already returned it to the fund, so. It really should only hit you the first year, it really should.
I guess my question is, it's going to the, obviously it's a huge difference between 26 and 43, or 2,600 and 43,000. Do we really think that it's gonna cost that much to do, the roads that you've listed here? I understand that, resurfacing is expensive, but it just still, there's a disconnect for me there.
I think maybe the difference is that along with the crack ceiling, they're completing micro surfacing, which, we have a contractor that's met with us about doing that on Old Post Road. That's more involved than your typical running the ceiling liquid down the cracks in the roads. And also, we've identified 5 different roads, whereas last year we did 2. It was new, this was our first time. I shouldn't say our first time, because Len, you've done it before.
Yeah, it's the first time the company now what they use is it's almost like a weed whack, and you go along and they grind out the crack so the material will go down into it. But when it becomes too big, then they do the micro surface it over, if the road is too big a cracks.
Now, what is microsurfacing? Is it like an
Just a-
asphalt or
Right, thin coat over it and.
thin coat of asphalt?
The whole road.
Okay, so it's something between resurfacing and repairing,
Yes.
kind of a major repair. And that's obviously more expensive.
Which I don't think we did before, right? We didn't do any repair work before 2018, maybe?
Years ago,
Wasn't it just resurfacing?
evidently back when crack sealing wasn't so good, the town tried it.
Yeah, you
We
used to
tried it
have
once,
like snow
and
blower.
when we plowed, crack seal right off, and plowed most of the road up.
Oh, yeah.
So now they've got a new way of doing it, and it seems to work really well.
So,
How long does it last? Yeah, so if we're gonna spend this kind of money for this road, for this, topic here, how long do we expect it to last? Cause it's a big chunk, and I get the rationale, but how long does it last?
As I recall, the engineer said 2 to 3 years.
I said 3 to 5. I
Yeah.
think it was 3 to 5.
Martha?
So that's a big.
I think the other thing to take into account for is that if that prevents the road from total destruction, they can repave it as opposed to totally rebuild it. Cost saving, yeah.
well, it's something we probably would like to hear about in another year, it sounds like this is a new, kind of a new technology.
It is.
And the rationale, I guess, is that it's gonna extend the life of the road before it needs a full repaving. So we'd like to see, just going back to Jennifer's question, how long this will last, how many more years are we getting out of the road, between pavings? And then we can determine if it's cost effective.
Also 3 to 5 years.
So is someone, tracking these tests? To say, look, here's at road, whatever road it is, we were planning on a cycle of so many years and replacing it. Now we're gonna try to keep it good for as long as we can and show us how much savings there is? Is there someone doing that analysis?
Yeah, there's that company that did all our roads last year.
So they have this plan,
Yeah,
and we have to implement this plan,
right.
and this is what, this is,
This is what.
this is trying to implement that plan
Right.
based on that. Okay. And what's the estimated savings? Have they come up with? Do we know? Are we tracking it? Is someone keeping track so that we know that we are actually, it's a nice plan, and I don't disagree with the plan, it makes a lot of sense. The question is, are we tracking the plan to make sure that we are,
Well, it's,
hitting the plan that we think we're gonna hit?
They're coming back in next year, so we'll see the results of what we've been doing.
So we'll get a report back that says we saved X dollars, or
What's be over several years, I suppose, ultimately we'll know. A little bit like, whether you
whatever.
buy
We'll have
a fire
to
engine.
keep reporting back once a year that they're on target or off target or whatever.
Yeah, see what kind of time we get out of these roads that have been microserviced. And compare that with what the normal cycle is for full resurfacing. If it extends it that long, there's a break-even point of so many years, we'll figure it out.
Mr. Chairman, if I may? I have some information for you, or Jamie, if this is okay. Rocky and Planning did a research for us, planning board asked them to do it, and we kept the budget $190,000 for resurfacing if we could do the crack sealing in combining with the paving program. And it was their idea and their intent to get much more mileage out of these roads before we had to resurface them or rebuild them. And the cost saving was supposed to be tremendous to us in the long run. Okay, so I can't give you a figure, I know you may want a figure, I can't give it to you, but we are monitoring it.
Yes, and the point is, I understand that's happening, I just wanna make sure that someone is reporting a dollar figure back to us to say, look, we saved this much in 5
Okay.
years.
All right.
Okay, any other questions on the highway budget? Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about the culverts and ditches and what's, I know we were handed a report, but I didn't know if we
Yeah.
have some more information about that.
There's two culverts that need to be replaced, one at the end of McIntyre Road and the other going out by Fox Road. And those are the two culverts supposed to be replaced this year.
Okay, and that's $28,000, and that's the highway department doing it?
No.
Or is that contracted
Private
out?
contractor.
So we bid that out then?
Right.
You guys have quotes on the resurfacing budget yet, for those projects?
We have the estimates from the engineer so far.
From the study
Right.
engineer? And they were 50% high from what we spent last year. You guys don't have quotes, PCs or anything like that from actual contractors?
And the resurfacing, I mean, for the grant,
Yeah, for resurfacing budget, you get 3 distinct projects, but this year you did them and you were,
Under budget.
35% low, so I'm just curious, and we took that $190,000 per the engineers, right? Consultants, and wondering if that's gonna happen again.
When will you be getting close on that?
I don't pick on Dennis, but I think most engineering estimates don't include some contingency plus another so much percent. Anyway, yeah, if you go right to the company, you get a different number than probably from engineering.
I'm happy you're under, but Brandon's point is we don't wanna over budget. But there's a lot of road work that might need to be done every now and then.
Well, the nice part is if you know early enough, you have some leftover, maybe you can get the jump on some of the following year instead of having to return it and come to it.
Martha explained to me that a lot of this stuff is being held up because of the Eversource. And we may be able to use some of it next year in 2020, it may have go into 2021. So as Jack said, if we got a little extra money and it's available to do it on 2020, we could get it done. So, I'm not too worried about having a comfortable budget there in that research, because I think there's use for it.
When do we get quotes? How far in advance for projects like that?
Right after town
Town
meeting,
meeting.
we start getting
Yes.
quotes.
I've seen in the past, if you think you're gonna have a surplus, maybe in November, December, you might get a quote on how much to encumber. Sometimes if it's that, something different.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Emily.
The road striping, I remember there was significant discussion about this last year. And I wasn't on the board, I was an audience member, but, so we budgeted 13,000 and we haven't spent any of that 13,000?
That bill just hasn't come in yet.
yes,
Okay.
because the road, you probably noticed the roads haven't been striped. They were late this year, they should have been done earlier, somehow. Newington fell out of it. They're supposed to have done earlier, forgot us, and I called up Gloria. But next year we will have to stripe Woodbury Avenue, which we haven't striped before, so that's why the budget's jumped over on that line.
Emily, I think one of your questions, the last time was the Newington Road and where there's no white stripes on the side, that's the state thing.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
understand
All
that,
right,
I
yeah.
understand that, I just remember there being a lot of
Yeah.
discussion
Unique
about.
shapes,
So,
footprints and.
so Woodbury is not gonna be, we are responsible for that,
We will be.
And all of you,
Okay.
responsible for that.
and it will need to be done in
That's why.
next year.
So you encumbered quite a bit of money then this year. There's a lot of money returning to the general fund.
And that's not encumbered.
That's not encumbered,
That's
right?
actually turned back in, which is a good thing for budgeting.
Right.
It's $200,000.
The other project that wasn't completed was the Wilcox Way project. The committee had us show that in a separate line, So that 75,000 is at play as well, going back.
So if we return 200,000, what's gonna happen to it?
It goes into the general piggy bank.
Yeah.
And it has to be rebudgeted in order to be spent.
So it's kind of like, you know, you put it in this pocket, take it out of that pocket. Once it was raised, say it was raised in 2019, it wasn't spent, if it goes into the revenue in 2020, when you set your tax rate, you raise it again, but you also have more revenue, so it should offset. It shouldn't affect the tax rate as a percentage.
Right. And are there any controls over spending it? So.
Yes,
This
that's,
budget.
that's
Okay.
You have to re-raise it.
if you encumber it, that money is committed and it gets spent automatically. If you turn it back in, we get to vote on it in the next budget.
Great, thank
And
you.
it's our position that everything possible should be in the budget.
Mhm.
And you don't have these huge encumbrances that are just.
In the past, if, like I said, towards the end of the year, you knew you had some money left over, you could go get one paving estimate and budget
Yeah.
for it, and then.
Specific project.
But with this Eversource mess up, that you really can't do that.
You know, so I'd rather have it in the budget, yeah,
Sure.
because that's not.
This year, not next year.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Emily.
One more question. The vehicle maintenance line, on the last page there, 660. So, what I'd like to know is the budget was 12,000, we spent 19,200. So you wrote backhoe repairs will still be needed until this is replaced. So we spent, how much of that was on that backhoe? Do you know, do we have a rough idea?
Around 12,000.
Okay. So we spent,
The backhoe is getting old.
right, so I'm just trying to figure out, you know, we're just dumping money into this, or is this?
Yeah, we do have an item to buy in the back row.
This year?
It's gonna be a warrant article, for this year, this 2020. Not sure we're gonna buy it, I think you're gonna wait till 2021. So, but the repair work is done to that road. You know, be confident, I guess, when I go through.
So we
Sometimes
don't think we're gonna go over that 12,000 again?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
Well, the other safety factor is the brand new truck, as opposed to the one that
It's
was.
1997,
Right.
So we retired the 1997 truck. In the committee packet, you have you should have had attachments with pictures of all the equipment. The 97 truck is being retired, and we have a new 2019 truck.
What was repairing back road, hydraulics or the engine or what?
I know.
Hydraulics, okay. So that shouldn't, once they do that, it shouldn't go again, hydraulics will be for a long time, but it's expensive when you gotta repack the things and everything like that.
What'd you do with the old truck?
It's
It's up there for sale.
You gonna try to sell it?
Yeah,
Won't give much.
look nice in your yard, Jack.
At least it's late.
Don't buy the blade, you can sell it in pieces. Any other questions on the highway budget? Okay, we ready to vote?
You haven't had a motion yet.
You're right, we need a motion. Someone wanna give me a motion for the
So
selectmen's
moved.
budget?
702.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll second that.
and seconded, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? The highway department, who we at, 702, 398?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, good. Thank you, Len, appreciate it.
We'll start retreating there, Lenny. We'll start retreating this one.
You do a great job with the roads. During the storm, they really did.
Yeah, I would just-
This weekend, right?
We're gonna move on to town and town village chapter 26.
Good job, stay with it.
We gotta set the bottom line for each of these, so we need to move each one of them. That's what I thought. Do we have separate votes?
separate.
Okay. So we have a lot of separate votes, so we'll do them fast, but I'm gonna do I will do the motion at the end. So let's just go right into the discussion for 26. Okay? Any questions on, building administration?
I do have a question on the, account number 430, whereas for 2019, we had 40,
What number?
430?
On town
Go down
buildings.
the bottom.
Town
Yeah.
buildings?
Town hall.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, or town hall.
So I think we have to vote on
Oh,
town
okay.
buildings,
I thought you were
administration,
asking
and then
questions.
town hall.
Really?
Well, no, I think we have to do
You're
it,
right.
like each bottom line.
You're right.
Well, wait a minute, now, let's see. Good. Town buildings, okay, yeah, so that top one's town buildings in town hall. Town building is cap 26. All right, we'll knock off, that's just that much more, building by building. So just to combine them,
Yeah,
we're
there's
gonna
a
add 26.
total,
There's a total at the bottom of 26.
26-24.
Well, there is a grand total.
Yeah, there's a bottom line there of 184. 198, 296. While we're on that, you wanna move that now, and then we can, oh, never mind, we'll hold off in case we wanna amend it.
Just really quick, we overexpended maintenance supplies this year, so we know why.
What line item?
610?
What town buildings admin?
I think that was the portable generator.
Right.
And what else do we have?
Paper products. for all
Specialized
the
batteries.
Batteries for the emergency lights and fire alarms.
Okay, but that's unique
I
enough
know.
that you don't have to budget more than 4,000 this year.
That's under maintenance supplies. 610,
Right,
batteries and generators.
it's a portable generator.
Used to be light bulbs too.
Like emergency lighting, not
Emergency lighting.
flashlight lighting.
The generator, can someone?
That's used to pump the water out when they go around the town to water in the summer.
Gardens
And
and-
it's specifically the new plantings up at Pease.
We got a little 2000 watt gas portable, 50 pounder. Big one is used like. What do you got for a little portable generator on it? Little gas powered 2000?
The generator. What
For
size
water-
is the
for water
generator?
and plants.
Oh, okay, yes, right. What size is it?
Probably about 100, twice as big.
Oh,
I've got one.
Okay.
I'm not very sure.
Okay,
Okay,
so that's
any other
under what?
questions?
Okay, so that's under maintenance supplies
Yeah.
for a new generator.
It could have gone under equipment purchases easily.
The generator is the water plants.
It's, right,
Well, the pump, there's a big water tank on the back of the
What
truck.
plants are we watering now?
In town, but specifically the Pease planting that Peggy Lamson and Lulu did this, or had done by PEA. You
They
know,
put
you
in
make
about
a turn on Little Bay,
Is it called
right after.
flowers or is this
No,
trees?
no.
Trees.
no,
Acres?
substantial.
Trees.
Well, not acres.
There's about 85 new trees of different species, I can't tell you, that are up there. And Lulu and Peggy got together, Pease put it in, they got it and put a fence around it on their own and took care of that. And we take care of the, Pease cuts it, but we take care of the weeding. It's at the end of the runway where they had the big cut down. It helps us from the scenic road point of view. It's next to the town recycling area, and it's right on the bend on Little Bay Road.
Remember, there's a lot of highway work that was done there.
Yeah,
It was pretty messy. So it's a good reconstruction.
it was about $60,000-80,000 worth of plantings that we didn't pay for, and we won.
And then with the trees that they require watering.
Just for the first year or two till they're established, I think that'll back off. And then Pease goes in and mows all around it and takes care of
Do we
it.
have to buy a water tank and all?
We have all that, we had
They
all that,
had the
we
tank,
had
They
that.
had the tank.
They go on
Way
like
up.
the one in
for
front
the
of the library.
gardens.
And then they do the library, they do, years ago, they didn't do it this year, but some of the circles and the intersections where there's flowers, they do it there, and it's for the whole,
They do it here at this building also.
yeah.
So we owe,
Okay. Any other questions on, let's just do these by chunk now anyway, even though we're gonna vote at the end. So, town buildings administration, that's the first line, we're good with that? Now we're going on to town hall. We're good did that, and
Are
then,
you, we've got a historic restoration, I'm confused, it says unanticipated revenues, but it shows in red and it shows a negative. Is that money we got, we had planned, how's that work?
It isn't truly a negative. We received $20,000 from Eversource, and the Board of Selectmen had a public hearing to
Right.
spend it at some point. And
Yeah,
you'll
but-
see a warrant article in this
You
year.
can't spend if you don't budget it.
I have a question on 430, the town meeting cemeteries, for 19, we budgeted, 30,500, right? And we're year-to-date coming in at 41. Just curious as to why we're so over budget for this year.
What tab
Which
is that,
building?
Jennifer?
This one, Town Hall.
Town hall.
What's the article?
What
what there's maintenance on. What we did in this building this year, we had the outside, the exterior brick sealed, we had a new roof put on. We also had this, mini split, which provides AC in the summer and heat in the winter. This room was unbearably cold. We got every complaint that I could think of in the summer for being too hot, in the winter for being too cold. So we installed this, and I think it's pretty comfortable. It depends on how many people are in the room, it needs to be adjusted slightly. But the building is older, and the HVAC system, this is like the last stop on the ductwork. And by the time it gets here, it's not very good. So this supplements, this is only on when we have meetings, and they're very, very efficient. I have one in my home and I love it.
There was also a large hot water heater.
Yes, the hot water tank in the kitchen went, we reduced the size of that from 100 gallon to 75 gallons, and it seems to be working just fine. The anticipated rate of cooking, washing dishes was not exceeded. And we also saved, I think about $2,000 by going with a 75 gallon instead of 100.
Indirect.
No, it's direct, it's gas, gas powered.
For committee members who haven't met him, this is Kevin Kelly, our
Oh, I'm
building
sorry.
inspector.
I'm Kevin Kelly, your building inspector for about 2.5 years.
I got a question, the tennis courts in the area over there, what component area does that fall?
Land management, a little bit further on.
Okay.
So, we get the town hall, and we move on to town garage.
I have one
Okay,
question,
then,
sorry. The 2020 department budget for the object code 430 is 23,986, and the selectmen budget is 15,056.
Which building are you on?
Bottom of the page.
Town hall,
Town hall, bottom of the page.
430.
65 was cut off of it.
Yeah, so the 65.
The LED conversion project was not listed as part of, that was the reduction.
So that's not happening this year? Is that the
We're s-
savings?
We're still working on that to determine what we're gonna do.
That's good, okay.
That brings up a question I had. I'm adding up the electric bills from these, I'm getting ballpark $30,000 a year. Does that sound about right? Is that where we should be? Is there things that we can do to cut that in half, for example? Because that's a recurring cost. Once you conserve
As fair as-
15,000 a year, that's 15,000 a year more you can spend on a fire station, upgrade or whatever.
We,
Every year.
we're trying to enter into the contract with Eversource. They pay 50% of redoing all our buildings and going to LED type fixtures. As you know, they did the streetlights the first year I was here, and that cut the electric rate tremendously from what I understand. That will also help here, but we still have to come up with 50% of the cost for each building. And I don't have the facts, those numbers in front of me, but we will save money. And other thing we'll save on, we will not be buying light bulbs or lamps for probably, those new lamps will last 10 to 12 years. So take the highway department for example. Those lights, those are all original fixtures. Once those are replaced, and then most of the bulbs are all still good, but they're getting close to the end of their life expectancy. So once we do that, we'll have all new fixtures in there, much better electrical usage. So we're just trying to, Martha, myself, and the select board are trying to figure out which buildings to do first and go from there and finalize the contract with AECom, who is the vendor for Eversource.
So that's in process. We think that'll happen this year?
I don't make the decisions on that, but we did have a contractor that we had prices when I first came here. The prices were exorbitant, inflated in some areas, and I refused it totally. They tried to charge us $13,000 for lifts. The only building we need a lift for is the highway department.
If we're paying roughly 30,000 in electricity, do you think we can get it down to 15?
I have
Is
no-
that a
I-
reasonable,
That sounds pretty optimistic.
That's very-
I don't know.
The air conditioner has to run the
So
heater.
you maybe we can get down to 20?
Well, maybe if you look at the parking lot LEDs before and after, and look at the percentage of savings from that might give you a ballpark.
Well, what was the numbers of that?
We can take the streetlights, for example.
Exactly,
We,
streetlights.
we're almost about half.
Yeah, it's about a 50%.
Yeah, so that,
Right.
so
So that's
30 to
just-
15 sounds reasonable, that's
Okay,
about
that's
half.
only
lighting, remember, it's not air conditioning and.
That's not peak times, off times, peak times.
Right.
100-degree days, 0-degree days, where everything is being utilized more. So it's a figure, but it's not realistic. Like some of the prices I get, it's a 40-year guess of electrical rates. Who can guess what the electrical rate's gonna be 5 years from now, never mind 40 years from now?
The question I've got is, you reduced that maintenance line by $6,500 because you don't have a deal yet, a contract yet, on the lights. That's on it. So what happens in midway through the year, you got a great deal? You go like to the capital reserve fund for building maintenance, or we would, wait till 2021, the rate, they might change their mind, and we'll be able to do it this year with some fund somewhere.
Eversource only has so much water in the well, and every year they allot a certain amount of money.
I know,
And
but if
once you
they
bid-
said, we've done so nice host with all the power lines and stuff, we're gonna give you the deal this year. Are you ready to, will we be able to jump in and do it?
We would recommend to the selectmen that we find funds elsewhere.
That was my
Right,
question.
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, moving on. Town garage. Okay. Old Town Hall.
Actually, if someone could speak to 430, which is the maintenance and repairs, for 2019, it's at 4796 and it's going up to 14,500.
What year is that now you're talking, Jennifer? Because there was a boiler, forced hot air boiler that ended its life and had to be replaced.
Wasn't that the meeting house?
So
No.
I'm talking about this year's budget's 4796.
Are we on town garage?
Yeah, the old town
No,
hall.
town hall.
Old Town Hall.
Old Town
Hall.
Yeah, you've got the,
Yes, it went from.
2020 is 14.5.
Yeah,
You budgeted 2,000 in 2019, so the question is, why is that going up?
significantly.
Now, it says something, there's an explanation here.
There were new emergency exit signs. Also, the cleaning, if I'm correct, falls in that category for the summer camp. That's in there.
Old Town Hall, or you want?
I'm on Old Town Hall, section
There's a
430.
good item that says paint exterior building 11.5. That's the Old Town Hall. Yeah.
That's what this is.
That's the building, like I said earlier, we've managed to protect the exterior of this building. And we'll be able to protect the exterior of the Old Town Hall. I have pictures here, I'll leave them for the board if you guys wanna look at them, but every one of those wooden sills on those bricks is rotting, starting to rot, and paint is coming off. It's only gonna get worse. And that includes painting the newer section, the doors and the windows.
So that's where your money's going to.
Kevin, you know when the last time that was done?
That I don't know. I started going through the files earlier today. and,
Probably
uh,
not since it was redone.
When you did the addition.
More than more like 13, 14 years ago.
It's like your home. You don't maintain them. It's just gonna get worse. It costs you more in the long run. Okay, moving on. We have the meeting house. We're down at the meeting house now. now it's dropped, you're asking for a lot less this year. What's the reason for that, because you got most of the stuff done that you needed to do?
We ended up, I inherited the issue, that building has been there since 17 something. Well, that building at more than one time is racked, if you can imagine the wind coming across from the cemetery side. That whole building, I had an engineer friend of mine, Fred Emanuel of Manual Engineering, come out last year. And we put a 4-foot level on each one of those corners. In some corners, that building is that much out. That's standing on ground level. The cemetery side wall where the balcony connects had come apart. The reason for that was it's not post and beam, but a type of hollow construction. The beam between the second and third window had slipped off of the piece of granite. I had no idea what we were gonna find when we finally get into that. Once we ripped off the siding, we discovered that the main beam, which is like about a 6 by 12, which ran from what the footing should have been, all the way up to the roof, catching the double plate up there, had come down. The middle window was open. You couldn't close it 3/4 to almost an inch. The balcony had pulled out and the wall was actually moving out. So once we pulled off the side, we had to cut into the sill, and we discovered that there was a piece of rock there that wasn't going anywhere. We poured 50 pounds of cement onto that, and then fabricated some parts and jacked it up a little at a time, and that wall came right up. Because I was getting ready to, with the fire department, to close off the balcony for anybody to use, because the balcony was just floating around. So we saved some money there, but we're working on the inside now because of the collateral damage of that wall moving. It cracked across the upper wood balcony part. That horsehair plaster was starting to pop in different places. By the end of next week, if you get a chance, stop in and see what it looks like when we're done.
Okay, fire station? Looks like, pretty straightforward. Fire station total, okay there. Police station.
I think I'm fixated on 4:30, I think
I
I'm
know.
I was just curious about sort of, it's at what, 9,500 for 2019, and then 2020 is 41,000? Someone could just explain that?
What building we in?
Police station.
Oh.
We had a light pole that actually rusted out and fell down that had to be replaced. That was $2,400. And in addition to that, we have several new projects for this year. The central signal is going to run us $3,500. Sallyport ceiling repair, $1,700. Solid metal door for the detached garage is gonna be $2,700. Garage waterproofing, 3,000. Brick ceiling, $10,800 for the whole building, like we just finished here at Town Hall. Evidence locker install, 4,000. Fence around the generator, 4,000, which is a requirement of the CALIA certification, I understand. And the LED conversion project.
Okay. Looks like you got 10-8 for the evidence locker.
Thank you.
Is that, sounds expensive, I know the chief's here, is that, you know?
So with the evidence locker, what it is, I think I explained it when I went through the budget, it's the one-sided lockers where they're mounted in the wall. The issue is it's brick walls, cinder block walls that they have to cut through. So I'm working with Kevin regarding seeing what the cost would be. And it's gotta be a quick, it can't be something that's gotta be, that can go on for a couple of days. It's gotta be a quick install because of the evidence, the integrity of the evidence. So we actually, when they're there during the day, I have to be there if they're in the evidence room. Don't want them taking anything. I trust them, but, so somebody's gotta be there. So chances are that's why the cost might be a little higher, I'm not sure, Kevin, but they are going through cinder block. They gotta square it off, and it's gonna be done in a timely fashion.
So these are quotes, these are bids.
Yeah.
The brick ceiling is 10,800, the evidence locker install is 4,000.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, evidence locker is 4,000, yeah, all right, I was reading it wrong. The brick ceiling, that makes more sense, okay. Good.
How old is that building? This apartment?
30 years, well, it was built in '89.
You got grass growing on some of the mortar joints, just like we did here. I could probably grow corn on that side of the building here before we cleaned it. There was so much moss and green. And since we've sealed the building, we haven't had a drop of water come into this building. It was coming in through the brick, if you can believe it.
I can.
Okay.
It's like a sponge.
All right, Stone School. Looks like we got, this is, public, repairs about. Any question on Stone School? Yeah, sure.
I just, so, I think I remember the story about the electricity, but the maintenance and repairs column, so we're putting in a fire alarm and security system in there, or what are we?
There's a fire alarm system in there now.
Okay,
that-
so it's already there, so then we're painting the trim on the windows and it's $5,000.
Right, that's the estimate we received.
You guys get independent estimates for all these buildings, or?
By Board of Selectmen, you have to get 3 prices.
Yeah.
On some of
For each
these-
individual building though, or are we doing, I mean, you get it's $40,000 in painting.
We
One of
try
the-
to bid each project, get the best price, as opposed to just putting everything together, because in some cases, one contractor may wanna touch that job, and another contractor doesn't want, for example, the bell tower.
One of the hardest problems I've had in the last 2 years since I've been here is getting contractors to even return my calls. The economy is so good, it's like, it's not a huge job. We seal this building, I called 7 different companies and individuals. I called big time contractors and I said, who does your brickwork? Oh, I get 2 guys. One guy, both guys called me, one guy came, looked at it, walked on and said, I'll have it priced for you in a couple of days. Never heard from him. Never heard from him. And the gentleman that did this is CCI out of Northampton. He does all of UMass buildings, he does all of the city of Cambridge. And I've known Bill, I was a building inspector in Northampton, I saw his work firsthand. I feel very lucky that we got Bill to come and do this. And his price was cheaper than the other contractor that we had a price. And they replaced all the joints, because the joints that were done between these bricks weren't done correctly.
Alright, so about painting though, we gotta paint, what's the one that needs the siding done? We got Old Town Hall, I mean, then you got windows, trim, almost in every building. Is there people that don't wanna take those individually, but would take $40,000 line item, to go around town and get where's it going?
I don't know if that's the best way to do it, because each job is different. Some jobs they may have to pressure wash to get rid of the flaking paint. Most of these buildings have been painted at one time or another, so I don't have to worry about lead paint and exposure. But the law requires that if it was painted after a certain amount of time, I believe it's 1972, it has to be checked by EPA standards. As far as getting a blanket price, as selectmen, it's better to get a separate price.
Why don't you do both?
Never thought of it that way. But I don't wanna have somebody, all of a sudden he's doing, say, the Old Town Hall, and all of a sudden he's looking at his money, starting to run a little short here, and I'm gonna lose it on the other end. This way I've got accountability, job, for building, instead of a blanket check. So,
Yeah, you could probably still find a way to get them to do line item by line item, like each one is doing, he gets all the work, get one crew here. We're trying to probably looking, well, if I had 5 buildings on my property, I'd probably have somebody come in and do this thing.
Are we keeping that building tight?
which building?
For one time, I went up there, there was holes in the building from animals and stupid watching slate.
Where are we talking?
The old stone school. Remember when the government gave it to us, required us to keep it sealed, basically.
The doors are locked, but
Well,
the
I mean-
building's in tough shape.
Yeah, well, I know it is, but I mean, it was animal hiking entries.
Well, there's windows, there's a broken window out back, so I'm not surprised birds haven't been in there yet.
That, yeah, they could come back and say you didn't do what you were supposed to do, I wouldn't think they want it, but I mean, it's just worth keeping an eye on it.
Why isn't it under maintenance and repairs for this broken window?
I thought it was repaired, so
Maybe-
maybe you know.
maybe it was.
Usually they don't do that.
You found some nest in there.
Just in perspective, I was going through some old files, and that, the Stone School was headed in a major survey 17 years ago. That's the
Yeah.
last time anybody's ever looked at it in terms of rehabbing it.
Yeah, there was a warrant article.
There was a warrant
A
article.
couple $1 million, and
Yeah.
it passed, but not with the majority, 2/3 upon it.
And they both articles, the Old Town Hall, and
Right.
Stone School, and same time Stone School failed. It was a major project then, and it's 17 years.
Oh, yeah, it was these elevators.
Time is flying.
Oh, Emily?
I just have a quick question, because I was at the Board of Selectmen meeting the other day, when we were discussing the railroad building,
What road?
the railroad building.
The old depot.
And my question is, I don't see anything, I mean, I know that's kind of like in the works and all that.
Yeah, it's not, we haven't got any definitive on it yet.
Right.
We're dealing with the state, and
Right.
Lulu is working with us on it. There's nothing definite yet, and we don't know whether we're gonna be
Okay,
awarded or anything, so we,
okay,
yeah,
all right, perfect.
Okay.
your crystal ball tells us.
It's an unpopular question or
In the shop.
position, and I'm not, I wouldn't admit to having it, but there's 4 buildings here that are kind of unused. Yearly budget for them, right around $45,000-$50,000 just to maintain.
What 4 buildings are you talking about, sir?
Old Parsonage, Stone School, Old Town Hall, Meeting House.
Well, the old town hall is used by residents a lot, plus it's used for.
Agreed. I mean, we hypothetically have facilities if we needed to use them, right?
As far as the old parsonage, we just did some work out front. It was rotting on the door, the front door, so to speak, not the door they use on the side.
So like I said, this is totally unpopular, and it's not what I'm saying for our personal. If the town was to say, hey, I'm kind of sick of paying for this, and every 10 years we're paying $500,000 to maintain these places, we don't feel like doing it anymore, what would the historical society say?
Well, for town. What would they say?
Yeah, I mean,
Let me get out of the way.
We'd start to scream.
They come up with any money for
My
it?
guess would be on the Lynchburg register and all that.
They are.
That restricts a lot of what we can do. I just think, by experience, for a long time, the town didn't put any money into any of the buildings because we wanted to keep it tech, and all of a sudden, the buildings were in really bad shape. And we were putting hundreds of thousands in. The old parsonage had mold, we had leaks, the whole site was all redone, there was a lot of money put into that building. The old town hall had a big addition put on, there was a lot of money in that building. The meeting house, did they ever get the top painted? I don't know.
Yeah, we painted that.
Rebuilt the entire,
Yeah.
whatever that's
Yeah,
called.
it's not done.
That was big bucks.
Probably in 2 years, you're gonna have to paint the exterior of that building again.
Yeah, so, and if you ever have to place any wood in any of those, we took it out of the forest, so we have it, but it's down by your house. But, no, you can't neglect these buildings. If you do, you're gonna wind up paying.
So
Are we
School's
doing
the biggest.
appropriate, if we are the,
Caretakers?
caretakers of these buildings, is what we're doing appropriate, or are we just kinda going down? Are we putting enough in to maintain?
Well, see, one of the.
We don't wanna put any more than what we need to, but we don't wanna put less than in.
You'll double your cost later.
Right.
Right, and we found that out 2 weeks ago at the old parsonage. I was starting to say the front door of the building, it was rotted, and once the guys started taking the rotted wood off, it got worse and worse. And then I believe John Frank stopped by and told him that this paint keeps bubbling off. Well, while we had the siding off, there's a leak either above that little fascia that comes out or up on the roof that we're gonna try to get back into next week and find out where it's going, because we opened that wall up, it was wet, really wet. It was open for 2 days, and luckily we had enough sun on it, we dried it out for now. But we gotta get back up there and find out where the leak is and stop it. We also sealed the chimney on that building, and, I do what I can with the money we have. These are your buildings, this is your town.
Right, so are we doing it the right way, I guess is the question. Sounds like we're doing good stuff, is it enough, is it not enough? Or are we in that
I
sweet spot?
mentioned before, I think the 3 buildings have been well maintained and they are used, they're assets to the town. The Stone School hasn't been used since 1959 by the town. that would be the big question, at some point we'll face that, whether we look for a, you know, a compatible owner or tenant, or the town takes over themselves. As you said, the town, there was a warrant article 15 years ago, and the town voted, they didn't vote it down, it didn't get required 2/3 majority.
I hate to see him go away.
The buildings?
Yeah, but
It's hard to get them back.
But I'd hate to see him maintain it such little, that you might as well let him go away.
Yeah, and I
So-
think even with the stone school, I mean, you're doing something so it doesn't totally collapse.
Right.
You're keeping a roof on it, maybe.
I think the other part of that also is, I think the Air Force has quite a few
Restrictions.
strings and
Yeah.
restrictions,
Unbelievable.
including now, is it called the New Hampshire Preservation Society? Has to weigh in on that also.
Yeah.
So it's not as if we can do what we wanna do to that building.
The deal with that school was it was used as a school, I went there, the airplanes were too loud, the government bought the school from us, they gave us enough money to buy the land and build a new school. They own the building, when the keys closed, they gave it back to us with restrictions.
Yeah, it was a red call, and boy, did they wreck too, it was a mess.
They did, in my view, they did a lot of damage modernizing.
Interesting walking through with the chair here and him reminiscing about his dad, always bringing lunch and stuff like this, and he was saying.
My mom used to, the parents then actually created the lunch. They all took turns coming in and making lunch every day for the kids. We could suggest that.
We'll get to the school budget.
We'll put you first. Could I get a motion for the total amount is $198,296, and that's for the tab 26?
I just have one more question, John, about
Of
the
course.
Wilson School.
4:30.
We're not liable though, in terms of the town, like, I mean, it's secure enough so that people aren't gonna hurt themselves with it, right? Because I know we're not doing anything with it, but I wanna make sure that someone's not gonna sue us because they trip over something in there or whatever.
Well, the door's
Can
locked.
they get in?
Can't do that.
Is there other no trespassing signs in there?
No, but the locked door should be enough to tell a person of reasonable intelligence to stay out of
I
it.
just, I worry about drugs, if it's an abandoned building,
Is there
is there
asbestos
like-
in there, is the first steps are crumbling, or they weren't up to stage or just anymore, and it had to be close for safety. The Reapers weren't happy, they used to be in.
Yeah.
It's almost condemnable.
My concern is the town at risk if we don't do something, just.
Yeah, well, that's, the strings attached were to maintain the building at least secure.
Okay.
And if you find a hole in it with a chipmunk living in there, you gotta fix it. And there was some slates that come off the roof a few years ago, we had to replace it.
Hold to the,
It was built in 1921.
I'll give you a motion, John, for, what's this called, building maintenance?
Building, yeah.
Budget 198,296.
Okay, is there a second?
second.
Okay, we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Good, okay. Okay, it's one tab down, land management is tab 17. It's always like a one-page item.
Okay.
Is it two pages? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're right, you're right.
Kevin, is that what, that's yours?
Any questions on land management?
Oh, mainland?
I have a question about the clicker maintenance
Okay,
there.
okay.
And I think it's a great thing that the residents have the ability to go through, because I think it's a nice option, but it seems like it's broken a lot. And I didn't know, and I know it's sort of not a lot of money here, but it's, is there a way so that, what are people doing so that it's breaking all the time, I guess is my question. Do we know, or?
We've had
Is
people
the
that have
design
been,
sensitive, or is it because it's being really abused?
That's my question, I don't know.
so we've had people that have pushed the gate before to open it up. People that have tried to sneak through with a resident and when the resident clicks it, they get their car hit, but it also damages the gate. The good news is that for a span of about 7 or 8 months, it hasn't broken.
Okay.
So we haven't had
There's also a camera up there so that you can identify the car and plate that did it.
All right.
Oh, that's great.
Good. Word to the. Okay, any other questions on land management? Yes.
Yes, object code 652 Fox Point, so the budget for 2019 was $500, but we spent $23,000.
Yes, we finalized the carriage house drainage. I don't know if any of you have been following that project, but right in front of the carriage house, we've had a serious problem with drainage, and it was affecting the foundation of that building. The rocks, if you went into the basement, were pushing out, and so we put it out to bid, and the culmination of that project is right there.
Okay, and I,
Is there, sorry, go ahead.
just a follow-up comment on that, is that they hydro seeded that right before September Fest, which is a massive waste of money. Because everyone walked on it, so, yeah, I mean, anyway.
That building's been there a little while, why do you suppose there wasn't a drainage issue before?
It had been addressed years ago, but the opinion was that it was incorrectly done. You weren't shedding the water was going down into the stone, freezing, and starting to push the stone in. So when they dug it out, drainage pipe was added, all stone, and gunite was shot onto the rocks, the foundation, to prevent any leakage in and to hold the rocks in place. So it was quite an expensive project.
Did that get dug up twice? Did that get done and redone?
It was done the first time, it wasn't done correctly, we caught it, and they had to go back and redo it over again.
Yeah,
We had called
sorry,
for 2 rows of piping jack,
Yeah, there was
and one was in,
a lot
and
of,
he insisted on the second one.
there were rumors running around that that was screwed up, mismanaged, whatever, I don't like rumors. but-
We took care of it. They got done toward the specs without any extra cost.
So this is where the tennis court
That's,
stuff, okay. Where's the provision in here to do the work we talked about, in the previous meeting, you know, sealing the cracks and make sure we don't lose the tennis court?
The recreation committee handles that through the, either through their recreation budget or through the rec, capital reserve fund.
but that's
So-
budget number, line is 655, tennis courts, I think that's what
So
you're
it's
referring to.
electricity,
Bill,
it's
right?
only, you know, it's only a few
Right.
$100.
Right, so for example, last year, when there were cracks in the court, that was put out to bid and the cracks were repaired. And it was through the capital reserve fund.
So it's a different budget. This is just electricity.
Yeah, there's been ongoing between the engineers and the company who built it about, who's that property design for drainage and everything. Stay out of it, but I don't know, but it's still settling here and there, and it does need, as you pointed out,
That's
around the perimeter, the grass is there, it's thick, you can't really run off, I don't know who should do it, but
Those courts have been there for a long time too.
they have. Fence has been replaced.
Emily?
Yes, the care of trees budget,
Mm-hmm.
so the HDC, correct me if I'm wrong, looking at something right, asked for $12,000 total for their budget, I believe. But this is $12,000, and so the answer at that time was, well, we've moved that to this budget. But this is the budget for the entire town, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the reason that you see the 12,000 there is we expect that we can do numerous projects, combining forces. We are going to be asking the highway department to be pulling stumps rather than hiring a separate contractor, to save funds.
Susie gets to go back.
And Fox Point's not in it. Is that correct?
Right.
Fox Point is not part of that.
Why is our generator for watering the trees not under care of trees?
It's also used for the different driving states.
Jeez,
a lot of time in town halls up.
Oh, okay.
Moving.
Dennis, I will be in
Keep
touch.
us moving.
Yeah, so.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sure, so the Eversource laydown, unanticipated funds, what specific location is that one?
That is on Shattuck Way.
Shattuck Way, okay.
Right, but it's also at the town town hall parking lot and the highway garage parking lot was,
So this is multiple different locations?
Right.
Okay.
Which of the code is that?
653. So that's just getting, that's money just getting returned?
right, we had to show it in the budget.
Is this where invasive species battle is funded, is this under the Fox Pond or?
No,
Seeing
Fox
something-
Point's separate, Jack,
It's
it's
separate.
invasive, yes.
I know it's, oh, there it is, it's under, I don't know where it is, it's all over the place, I
652.
guess, it's under carrot trees, it's under everywhere.
Can we get,
I thought you were doing something about
can
that.
we get a motion on the bottom line, I won't cut off the base. Someone bid 65, 726,
I'll make a motion.
is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions. Next tab is code enforcement, 6.
That's it.
It's about a little over 1% up from last year. Any questions on code enforcement?
What was you bringing a year, Kevin, average, you know, that varies, I know, but.
Are you talking building
In
permit?
fees, yeah.
This year, so far, I believe it's $206,000, on just building permit fees, probably about 20,000 for electrical, maybe 30,000 for plumbing. I just started tabulating all the amounts.
So we're collecting a little over $250,000 in
Yeah, roughly.
More than pays for.
Pays your
what
way.
it pays for the office, right? Okay, any further questions on code enforcement?
We pay a fee to dig safe, or is this?
Yes, there's an annual fee, but anybody that does any digging, I know who it is and where it is.
Are you the only employee in code enforcement?
Yes, I'm the building inspector, health officer, and code enforcement.
We do have the
And
two
chief cook and bottle
stipends.
washer.
Your two inspectors.
Yes, I have a part-time electrical and a part-time mechanical plumbing inspector.
And that was
Contracted?
They get a flat stipend.
Okay, that comes out of salaries then?
Oh, got you right there.
Line
So
1.
120, okay. Alright. Yep, I see it, okay, stipends. Yeah, alright. About 15 grand for them, okay. Somebody wanna move the bottom line? 133,817,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, abstention. Alright, executive office is tab 12.
Good night.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, any questions on executive office?
I have a question on the, 110, the wages, when it says 5, part-time staff members, what's the FTE equivalent?
So. We have 5 different employees that are part-time. We have, I'd have to quickly add those up. 190 or so per bi-weekly.
190 hours per bi-weekly,
Right.
roughly 100 hours, 2.5 FTE.
5 a week.
The average about half an
Oh,
hour.
95.
You are also part-time,
Yes.
Right.
you're 4 days a week?
An average of 32 hours. Times like these weeks, it's more.
Okay. Any other questions on the executive office? Oh, yes, Emily.
So we're gonna talk about health insurance now?
The committee has, packets on the savings that we would, realize if we change to a 5% or a 10%, employee share increase. Right now, at 10%, it says savings of about $44,000. You also have a survey in there of towns in the state that have replied, that shows an, average employee share contribution of 15%.
So our employees pay 10%,
Right.
and the average is 15%.
Exactly.
What do we pay for that?
So coming from a family who pays 100%, I have, I don't know, I'd say 50-50 is reasonable.
That was a big jump.
Yeah. But what I'm more concerned about is the actual cost of the plans. It looks like for a family plan is $2,700 a month, is that correct? But with dental?
Yeah, they're getting really good insurance.
Because that is, I mean, I'm intimately aware, as I'm sure Jamie is too, of the cost of having a family health insurance plan, and that is very high.
This is a Blue Cross Blue Shield
Yep.
plan, that, as you saw from the survey, the majority of towns, if not all of them, have.
So this is the plan that they actually have.
It's an HMO.
The specific.
All
plan.
these towns have this plan.
You'll see the notes right on there about AB 20 on the survey, and most of them did.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Well, right here.
Oh,
That's the product.
Yeah, but, but there can be different types of Anthem Access Blue.
Absolutely.
Right,
Well,
so,
different types of Anthem products,
right,
do that.
so just because it says Anthem Access Blue, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the plan that we have.
So the towns, this is a very popular plan, and the majority of towns have this exact plan that we have. There are other options. We could go to one with a $500 deductible for a single and $1,500 for two-person and family. And there are other options as well.
Maybe we, I don't know if it's clear in this information or not, but I think there's a couple options. You can either pick a less rich product or plan, which is what we're talking about, or increase the employee contribution of the one that we have today. And I think we should do a cost benefit analysis of those two options, because I agree with Emily, it's just high. And I get it if that's what Blue Cross is charging people, but I think we should sort of do a comparison of options that we could just sort of get a sense of, because it's hard to understand what the strategy is. So I appreciate all the documents, but in terms of sort of what's the strategy of the executive office in terms of what they want to offer employees, and I don't see that here.
Now, the selectmen, I understand you're doing a study of this, this is something that's ongoing.
We're working on this right now.
And when would you, I mean, we have to budget for this year, but when would you could make a decision anytime and start saving money, giving due notice to the employees. Do you have a time frame?
We've set the health insurance and dental and other benefits for this year. It would be something that's worked on for next year. As we mentioned before, we're in the middle of union negotiations too, and this has to work at the same time.
So what's the effective date of the program? Is it 1/1?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, and Martha, so we're at a 90-10 right now?
right,
Okay, and what's the deductible course? 0?
0.
Yeah,
It's
that's
also
really
that's
rich.
really.
That's the most expensive.
That's
probably
really rich.
useful.
I don't think that it's competitive, frankly. I think that, and if you take a look at the salaries, I think the salaries are good salaries. And so, as I think I said in a previous meeting, if a town or a business can't afford to pay a good salary, they can often sort of kick in a little richer benefit package to kind of help with that. But I don't see that as our issue here. I think people are paying really fair salaries and a very rich benefit package.
All due fairness, Ann Hebert mentioned, and I'll mention too, that we've signed a non-disclosure agreement for the negotiations. And I would suggest, with the union negotiations, I would suggest at that point, we don't get into it any further.
So that's for the union. But I think what you can hear is the budget committee, I think people are saying
We hear you.
that this is a very rich plan.
We hear you loud and clear.
That's it.
I would love to be able to get into this plan.
Work for the town, Jamie?
Yeah,
The town that-
I would consider it.
Work
Cause
good
it's
on some
just from
holidays.
the plan itself, it's fantastic.
Do we still offer, board, one time, other people other than employees, like, put on different committees, could get in, opt in on, and pay their own premium? We still do that, or did that go away?
The employee has to be regularly scheduled for 15 hours a week.
But there were some board members at one time,
Right,
remember, like, the
that-
okay, used to be, that's gone?
Yeah, that part
One
is.
time you could have, I don't know. Well,
You know, you have to, it has to be in the middle.
I think that if
It's
someone-
saying, and there needs to
One
be
time
some
we could-
balance.
If someone is paying the full premium out of their pocket, they might not select this plan, because
Yes.
it's an expensive plan.
Definitely.
And so, if you were paying the whole thing, and I'm not suggesting that anyone do, that's not, it's obviously not you can. But if you're paying that 90% of it, let's say, you might shop a little differently than if you're paying the 10% of it. So I think it's worth it for the town to spend time shopping the plans around, trying to get some good benefit for the employees, of course, but also trying to get some good value at the same time. You have to use how much you use it, pay for what you use, but not what you don't use, etc. It's, there's a lot of expense to the town, and it's going up. Our town budget goes up, what, 10-12% this year?
I think around 37%, right? Is it in the budget, what's the?
For insurance,
For insurance.
Yeah.
That's just not standard. It's just not.
The insurance plans are going up 7%,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
The 37%, I think, is coming from many employees jumping onto it, not many.
I don't blame you.
Some have family going from single to family.
But as part of your strategy, you need to take that into consideration as you formulate your strategy. So, so it's not just about, you can't just blame the insurance company for raising their rates and then the people are picking it. As taxpayers, we, or as a budget committee, we wanna send the message that it's the whole package that is, it's 37% that matters, not necessarily what the put and take is.
And so the selectmen are working on it.
I appreciate
That's
you
why
saying
we have
that,
all of
because
this information.
we are very aware of that.
So in terms of, and this is just a question, I know the fire department's having their conversations, which we can't get into. How many employees would be eligible for this
In total.
in total?
So on your large.
Yeah, or the total employees and then how many are fire department employees out of the total?
That's what this spreadsheet is.
If this is grouped by number of employees in the town, or is it grouped by how many, in the county that, is it many different towns putting together? to have
Roughly
a-
26. I'm sorry, Jamie.
Well, it's 26, but if we wind up with other communities, we could
We can have it on some things.
Get
Is
better
it
rates.
collected?
Like a small business association kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is run by the Health Trust pool of towns.
Yeah.
Most towns.
So it's a
are-
pool.
It's bid.
Yeah.
It's negotiated.
It's not just Newington, it's a
No, no.
pool.
No, right, yeah.
State and, yeah.
There's 26 and about, in the fire department, there's 10 or 12 employees. So that-
Of the 26 or in addition to?
Of the
Of the
26,
26.
Mr. Chairman.
At 12.
Yeah,
I guess the point that I wanna make here is that it's whether it's the fire department or not, that's not our
Right.
purview. I don't think that's even, should even be brought up, frankly. I think the issue is, what you're hearing from me at least, is that there's an issue, we have a concern about the increase. And I guess my request would be, go figure it out. But I can't sign off on a budget that's gonna include this kind of an increase in it. The rest of it feels very responsible, but this is just, the data's not here to justify it. So,
But within that anthem rule, whatever it is, are there different plans within that, like I think it's called the J plan, which is the Cadillac, which is zero deductible, then it was a 500, then 1,000. And I think I recall, a long time ago, the town used to pay 100% of the best plan. And Jack goes, oh, I think it was, this is so, the time said, no, we're changing it, didn't tell anybody, didn't tell employees, he just went and changed it, and it changed. And, then brought in a couple of options, an HMO and a different thing, and you're 10% or whatever, I don't, teachers pay, I think 15, I might be able to check them. But,
And there's so many different options
There's a
nowadays
lot
with
of
options. That's what I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm
There are a
saying.
ton
and
of
house
options.
discounts and.
yeah,
stuff like
this
that.
is
Spending
a
accounts
zero
and
deductible, I think is the premium, we call it the Cadillac, you know, I didn't know we were still on that.
We aren't, this is an HMO, and great point, there are other options. The one option that the selectmen were looking at is a $500 single deductible and $1,500 two-person and family. That's another option within.
Just for the board to consider too, a good place, a good reference point, somebody that watches this pretty closely are the SAUs. You might wanna take some advice from those folks as far as what they have, the SAUs, the school boards.
We're talking to the school board about that.
They are a good reference point.
I think, I mean, you can get more pushback at town meeting.
Well, remember,
on these
what we
costs
did was
without a
somebody
plan.
made an amendment from the floor to, at the time, we were doing 100% payment and increasing employee payment, they got short, voted down.
It was.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think it was 4 police chiefs ago, if I remember right, John Stimson said, sure, we'll start paying, the teachers started paying, they got a big raise that year, that was his argument, I never went for it. Remember?
Okay,
I think there are opportunities to save in terms of premium, and there's an opportunity to save in terms of quality of plan. Not that we wanna give a good quality plan, but we also wanna get value. And there's opportunity for the town to save in terms of the ratio 90-10 and the negotiations there. My observation is that, for someone who pays 100% of my own, healthcare, this is a fantastic deal. And I understand that's probably part of the reason why some people keep certain jobs, and we wanna, maintain that, but if you look beyond just working at a town, if you look at the broader picture, the healthcare costs are high, but there has to be, you have to pay your own way somewhere at some point, and so there's gonna be a realistic balance.
okay, let's move quickly on, we can talk all night on
One more
health
thing,
care.
so-
Okay, I mean, John is first.
This is the contractual obligation, right, the payments like salaries and.
No.
It's not.
Only with the fire department.
Okay, so the healthcare is controlled by the budget for anything except the fire department then?
Yeah, it's just the union people in the fire department, not the administrators. No.
Because it's unionized.
John, did you have?
It's okay.
All right. You know, I think that the message should be clear, that this is a serious thing, and, you know, that the voters could do some serious pushback, but it's gonna take you a year to turn it around. I think, so I don't know that we can vote down money, just arbitrarily vote money out of this proposed budget without any plans, and without giving people notice. But,
It's gotta be
Well,
done fairly.
so why are we, it feels like we're being, forced to vote on something because we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So how did this happen, that we're in this situation, right? To me, that's not right.
Yeah.
We-
yeah, sure.
So what is the, I guess the follow-up to that would be, all right, so we're being forced to vote on something that we don't have a lot of control over right now, but I'm also not hearing, or maybe Ken, you could chime in for the selectmen, what the plan, I mean, you know, I know.
So I could just give you a nutshell version. This is a two-part problem, okay? We have the union that has this plan, and we have the non-union employees that has this plan. If the selectmen were to change and move the police to Cigna right now, maybe a $1,000 deductible, and the union stays with Blue Choice right now,
That
You
creates,
need to figure that out. That's leadership. You need to figure it out.
Yeah,
Jen,
we
thank
are.
you,
We
thank
are.
you for your comments. We're well aware of it, we're addressing it, and we
But why are we
cannot,
in this situation now?
because
It's like
as
we're being put
explained,
into we are put into a corner, and I don't appreciate that. We are
well,
being
neither
forced.
do we.
Well, that's not, that's, you know,
It's important, though, to treat people equally. if we start doing something different, it's possible we could end up with more unions in town. That's not the way to go.
Easily. We almost did, just a couple of years ago.
You wanna treat people fairly. I think that's ultimately, you wanna have to maintain the tax rate fairly, and you wanna have, people treated fairly. But I think discussion, probably outside of this meeting, needs to happen to make sure that we come up with a plan that is effective to the taxpayers and fair to the, employees.
So
As
is
fair
there
as we can
potential to
possibly make.
biannually on an open enrollment period that you can, if there's changes that can be made halfway through the fiscal?
They could. When's the, maybe answer or not, when is the union agreement up for renewal? When is that?
March 3rd.
This year, March, after the town meeting. Just by studying things and looking at them, one of the biggest argument points on any union negotiations is benefits. In other words, huge $1 million member membership or just.
Now, does the town vote on every union contract?
Yes.
Yes, and when would that come up to a vote? Say it's, the contract expires on March 30?
And we're still in negotiations.
Okay, now is the town meeting gonna vote on the new contract?
No, I don't anticipate that it'll be ready. I mean, anything's possible, but,
So you continue under the terms of the old contract until an agreement is reached?
right,
And then once an agreement is reached, it goes to a vote of the town.
exactly.
Your comments, though, were very helpful, because that sends a very loud public message.
Well, hopefully it does, sir, but how do we send that, how does the, it sounds like everybody's kind of in lockstep here about how we feel about it, but how do we send that message without, just being a public hearing for the budget, but how do we do that for, when it goes to a vote? Is it possible that you can vote for half of the appropriation in order to say, this needs to be figured out with a new open enrollment in June?
It's
You can
possible.
change open enrollment dates,
Yeah, you can.
absolutely.
You can do that, you can't change, well, you got a fire contract that's coming up now. Yeah, I mean, you can do anything you want until you get sued, but presumably you can do that.
Well, my question is, because if we sit here again in January of next year and the new contract is 1/1 and we didn't get what we want, we just waste our time again talking about this.
And I guess I don't really appreciate the fact that sort of bringing another department into this to sort of prove somebody's agenda. I don't appreciate that. I think what we are hearing is we're not happy with this package, but to sort of pit one department that happens to be unionized against the rest of the town, I don't appreciate that.
Would you explain, clarify that, because
Sure, because you brought up the fire
important
department,
thing-
it has nothing to do with the fire department, this is about
I
ordinance.
don't wanna get into an argument here,
Yeah.
but I think that we know it's tricky with the union negotiating.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the voter decides, and we advise the voters. And the voters will decide on the fire contract, and they'll decide on the benefits to the
Yeah.
non-union employees. That's what it comes down to. And,
I think there's enough, money here on the table and enough tricky wickets to walk between that we should probably have one person's full-time job is figuring this out. And trying to find fairness between, all, I mean, it's not something we're gonna figure out here in this
no, I
discussion.
think we send our message, and selectmen are elected to do exactly what you said, Jamie. And let's hope they do.
How do we vote to show that, Jim?
Well, you could make it a motion to reduce the amount. That's the only thing we can do, and that's a recommendation that goes to the town.
I would like to do that.
If nothing else, at least it gives us a stake in the ground, like we actually.
Basically, I mean, we can attach a dollar figure, or, I don't know. Basically, I think we have to work with dollar figures, and you realize that the selectmen have the flexibility to change these amounts. I mean, within the overall budget, they have the legal flexibility to move stuff around. But you're setting a pretty strong figure.
Which line item are we even talking about?
Well, there's a health item here.
Yeah,
There's
210, Jim.
210?
Item 210, it's up 7.4%. This is.
That's only $10,000.
But this only applies to the town, the office workers.
I think the discussion we've been having is, all employees, just
Yeah, right,
the,
yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the answer before we brought this up is that this would be the time that we would deal with it, so.
Now, you can cut this particular line item, it makes the point, but it's not, you know, it doesn't affect some of the other.
But the total
payrolls.
value is $500,000. If I look at your numbers right, the total
521.
521.
Well, it's located
Cutting
in all kinds of
$10,000
places.
off of this line
It's in all
item
kinds of
is a,
departments.
See,
doesn't,
we've already approved the police budget, which has
Correct.
the current health insurance. We've already approved fire budget, which has current in it.
So this is where I
Which
feel
what I'm
like
not sure is based
I
on
feel
the
like we're
fire
back
budget.
into a corner.
So, well, I mean, you could change it to public hearing.
I
And you
would-
got the public to listen to it, and you could do the change at the bottom line. then.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the purpose right now, where we're under contract from 1/1, is to change today what we have, right? It's actually just to place a line in the sand and say, this is what we feel like, and whether it's $10,000 or it's, we can't just arbitrarily cut the budget in half, you know, $250,000 because there's no plan there. We can't, you know, I don't think that's what we're trying to do.
You're penalizing the departments,
no.
which you can't really do.
Yeah, which we're not really trying to do. I think this at least sends a message that it comes up as a topic where it gets brought up in a public meeting. Right?
I mean, some of the public meeting, Jack said, we're working with the bottom line for the whole town budget. Someone say, you know, I recommend we take $20,000 out of the health budget, find the savings somewhere.
Well, you
Somebody-
almost have to do each department,
Yeah, I mean, but.
which is not that hard.
No, but it's a bottom line. If you take
I
$20,000
understand.
off the bottom line, you understand it's the health expenses overall department. Somebody could do that and it sends a message to everybody.
The analogy earlier, when we were talking about electricity, it was a $30,000, if you added them all up, but it was all from all different
Yeah.
buildings. Now we're talking about, healthcare, in the price of health insurance, which is not in one particular department budget, but is across all the budgets, right?
Yeah, but
If
we have a
use
lot,
Anthem, then everyone gets Anthem if we
there's
use.
a bottom line budget
Right,
that the town votes on,
right.
and that's what you'd have to change. You can't go back and change all of this stuff. You could, but it'd be a real mess. All of those subcategories are really information for us. That's the background, and we're responsible for that bottom line recommendation.
This is a proper question to ask at this time or not, but if you negotiate a new fire contract at the end of March, and needs a town vote, is that gonna delay or wait a whole year? Or could you call a special town meeting for that?
Traditionally, there's not been any retroactivity or special town meetings called.
Just goes into effect April
Right.
1st. And when would it get voted on the following year?
Right.
So potentially what you can do as a budget committee then, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could really restrict at the public hearing what the overall budget for health costs are, and when they exceed it, because we haven't done our due diligence with a better plan, they would have to come back and say, we need this extra money.
Which, yeah.
So
So
we
at least then, at least then there's a stop
$520,000.
sign that says, we better figure this thing out.
$230,000 or something.
Right, $520,000 that we're talking about, on this group of line items. When we say a 10% or a 20%, what does the, group here feel that we wanna change that line?
So the
item
total 521 is up
from-
70% over a year ago, Martha, is that what you said?
7%, right?
So, yeah, no, I think if we,
$521.
what was it in 2019 budget? Well, that's what it says for health, but dental also went up 3.9%, so.
So it's 521 for health plus 33 for dental, so we're at
Right.
550?
Right.
I'd say a 10%
without
Say
too
it is or
much
not, but at least if you
pain
didn't, if
for
you
them.
didn't say that, it's
In reduction
I think if you did that, there's a
costs.
stop in the road where they have to come back and say, we're out of money for our benefits, and
Well,
we have an opportunity to say, well, how
the
do
thing
we
is, you can do it two different ways. You could increase employee contribution to make up the difference, or you can find a cheaper plan. You can still stay in your line. I mean, it can happen two different ways. It doesn't mean you're gonna be penalizing.
That's the that's the end result we want.
That's what we're trying to get to.
That is public hearing.
I think shopping around the plans, you might find someone who.
Yeah, all we can do is a budget
We're
committee.
supposed to have 3 different quotes for any
Say, this
expenditures.
is what we can recommend.
Yes.
And it's up 7%, you could say, okay, we recommend only go up to 5. Yeah, but 5 or whatever. 7%.
So we just need a number of coming to public hearings.
Yeah, if that's the message you want. But, you know, it's something that should come to the voters' attention. As Jack said, the last time they did, they said, no, Con will pay it.
Yeah.
And they might
And
this
that's
time.
their prerogative.
That's their
right?
prerogative, but I think we should give them a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then this line item here for health insurance, 210 in this budget, I think we're going to move.
I would move this one and hand it.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
go
yeah.
to the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it fairly.
Bottom line
Yep.
change.
That's fine.
Okay, so our bottom line here is 329,098. Are you ready to vote this? Something else, you have other questions?
I have one quick one on the wages. What was the increase you applied for wages this year?
1.6% COLA. And different departments have step increases. This,
It looks like less than 1.6 actually. Look at the budget numbers between last year and this year.
127.
the executive office, the selectman's office is all part-time employees, and that's all there is. There isn't a step system.
But the COLA was 1.6%.
Right.
And that reflects what, Social Security?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There were some that didn't take that.
That's right, the stipend.
Didn't take the increase.
Go.
Okay, yes.
I have a question about, the bottom of the first page, the equipment maintenance and the equipment lease. So, I'm just trying to get a sense of what's going on with those items. So we
Which
still have
line
a-
specifically?
439 and 440. So last year, we had a budget for equipment maintenance of $475, or no, I'm sorry, $1, we spent $475. This year, the budget is $1,080. So we're maintaining equipment that we're leasing?
We contracted with Conway Office Supply after looking at how much it was costing us to individually pay for toner and repair. And this plan is less expensive for us.
So that's the equipment maintenance, is the plan
And
you're speaking
toner,
of?
right.
Okay, and toner, okay.
And the leasing is up 10%. Because you spent that much. It's already inflated.
Right. We have our postage machine lease, our sharp copier, the big copier out there, lease.
Right.
Any other questions on the town office, executive office?
Sorry,
All right.
one more question. 740, we also have equipment purchases. So the budget was $1,000 for this year, we spent $4,795. So that's a
Right.
separate, I'm just having a hard time understanding all this.
Right, this charge should have been broken down between, 3 different lines, but it's shown here as $47.95. The 4 computers actually should be charged to town clerk, tax collector, assessor, and then 2, one for finance and one for the treasurer.
But you're not budgeting any money this year, that's all purchases.
So those were computer expenses in addition to the $20,000 that we spent for computers?
They were in the original plan. The original plan was $40,000 for a 2-phase approach. 20,000 last year, 20,000 this year. But These 4 computers, particularly the town clerks and the assessors, were at end of life and needed to be handled sooner rather than later. So you'll notice in the capital outlay, that total project cost has gone down. It's now only 7,000 instead of the 20,000 that was estimated last year.
How'd you do on the server project this year?
Great, so that's been completed.
And you did a physical server, on-site server, or you did a cloud-based? Weren't able to do that.
We have all of those details in our 2019 budget. I wouldn't pretend to remember them all,
Okay.
but I can.
But it's complete.
Yes.
But did you find a new printer for the town report? That's quite a drop in price.
We've been working on it over the years. Eleanor's been pulling their feet to the fire, and we've reduced the number of copies.
Okay, yeah,
We used to deliver them.
You gotta look at a lot of report, and they don't probably have to, how they put it, the audit.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna remind folks that we're really behind schedule. So is there any more discussion? Okay. Could I have a motion on the bottom line, 329? We got one already? Do we have a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Okay. Good. Elections, that's tab 10. Any questions on tab 10?
Was it 10, did you say?
Yes.
Tab 10.
Thank you.
Make a motion for selecting budget total $7,648.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
There's a second. Any questions on this one? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, good. Tax collector, 27.
Cut it.
Wait up.
I know, but we
Okay.
have patience.
All the collectors, that we okay?
That's right.
We've got a budget recommended by the selectmen of 15,823.
Where were you?
I'm sorry, my off base here. Town building, I don't know where it is.
Number 27.
27.
Alright, 15%.
Okay, here it is. It's after the tab, not before the tab. What's our bottom line here is 73,000?
Yeah.
Someone want to move that?
I'll go back.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Like this one? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We paid $4,000 for new computers, and then we also paid $5,800 for new computer software.
It's the software, yeah, it's a tax, there's a software in, and then the one for the motor vehicles. But then also, setting up, we're getting 2 computers set up for 2 different people to work on, which we've never had before. So it's like $500 for motor vehicles, to put it on 2 machines.
Okay.
And
So, then, Laura, if you don't mind me asking, what is the, life expectancy of your workstations? Because we got 2 that got to end of life, and now it's a $10,000 problem, so how long do we expect the new computers with this software to last?
well, the last one, the computer that we just got rid of, I was there when I started 7 years ago, and it had a Windows 7 on it. So, that just ended yesterday. Yeah, the support ended yesterday, so by the skin of our teeth, we got it
Gotcha.
changed.
So why do we have the department budget growing again this year if we did all that last year?
Aren't those subscriptions
Licenses.
recurring?
Yeah, we have to pay it every year,
So why go up $1,000?
because we're hooking up 2 computers this year, rather than just 1.
We need to, Vic?
That's all we ever hear about.
You ever see the lights
People
out there?
standing in line complaining because 2 people can't work on. You can work on, at tax time,
Well, let's listen to her. And then-
at tax time, you need to have,
you need to be able to have two people working on two different machines. As it's been, we've just taken turns on the same ones.
So just inefficient.
Yeah,
That's the bottleneck.
Did your printer working today?
what's that?
Printer work today?
We didn't have to use it today, thank God.
So now
Yeah,
the
the
wage,
printer's about to go out too, so.
we got a wage increase, because of the elections this year, so.
The election, we've got 4 elections this year, and we're doing shifts, 3 different shifts.
So this is
Four-
wages,
four
this is
hours
for your,
apiece.
I guess it's for your deputy.
Oh, for the
I
deputy,
mean,
yes,
that's
yes,
just sort of-
because she'll work. I mean, we have to be here 14 hours for every election. That's on election day.
So the increase is due to the 4
It's all due
elections.
to elections,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So it's still hourly based?
Yeah,
Gotcha,
right.
okay. I'm all set.
Okay, any further questions, we're ready to vote, all in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, good. Assessing and legal is Debbie,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I made a comment, last meeting we had that, we were saving about 70,000 in our assessing. And we did some more looking at the numbers and so forth, it's been 49,000, so I want to clarify for the record.
49,000.
Yeah, we're still saving 49,000.
The budget is down substantially, apparently, 56%. Any questions on this budget?
You just use an update, our pickups, what they call it this year, the first year of the 5-year cycle,
Right.
so we'll never, we'll go.
So we're going from $335,000 budget, looks like $146,000.
When you get there, your possible court bill, I don't know if that's gonna, like, San Suzy, will we charge to this, fighting the abatements and stuff? So that may be some extra hours.
So is that a different, sorry, just on what Jeff, so that's a different attorney than what this
No,
last?
this is just assessing, but the
Oh.
assessor would be, obviously, there's one specialist that does decide the other side over there.
What was it, warrant article last year for the assessing cost? I thought it was $200,000 somewhere.
Revaluation last year.
For the revaluation, 5-year reval.
So that's gone, so that's a big decrease.
But
Just because
the
we gave
cost
that
of
once every 5 years.
The cost of the new assessors compared to the old is what Mike said, 49,000.
49,000 is what we're
Less.
saving.
That we'll see in 2024.
No, immediately.
No,
The
the
assessing
increase will
services.
be back in 5 years.
You won't see it in the budget, however, because we've still got these 2 court cases outstanding and the expert testimony needed by the assessors to handle them, as Jack was mentioning.
But the $49,000 was real
Real
savings
savings.
through bid.
Right.
So where is that? 'Cause it says in the revaluation that you spent it. So where's the 49K?
What was the line item that you saved in
The residential commercial assessor,
the assessor?
right, that was originally going to be in the neighborhood of $70,000 to $80,000. That has been reduced to roughly $30,000 when you take into account a part-time employee doing data entry and the actual assessor out in the field.
But this is confusing though, because it says that the budget in 2019 that we passed was $96,000. In 2019, we spent $117,000, and then it grows beyond that for 2020. So where did we save $49,000? That's the line item, right, 312?
Right,
Okay.
it would have been
Higher.
even higher.
This is primarily our industrial situations that we're addressing. 2 power plants and an energy plant. I mean, oil, gas, correct? That's why that's sitting there.
So in terms of this budget, the actual savings
We
is
would
looks
not
like
take there.
it's a tax map update. encompasses grants from all town departments, covers tangible costs, so I mean, you budget $125,000 for one item. That's $990 last year. This is what's current year. You've only
Brandon, I
spent-
can't figure it out either.
I can't, when,
Okay, let's walk through it. So if we start with residential commercial assessor, the outside contractor will be $20,000.
what line are you on?
That's, we're on 312,
Just well, okay.
okay?
So 12,000.
20,000, right? Then industrial assessing
Okay,
services,
that's a savings, okay.
that should be 48,000, but in addition to that, we have expert testimony coming up on these two cases, interrogatories, or maybe settlement talks. So beyond the 48, we're going to be going beyond the 48,000, that's the contracted amount for appraising the power plant, spray, some of the other large industries.
Okay, so industrial assessing and services is either, is it 64,000 or 48,000?
48.
Okay,
It was, the first proposal we received was 64, but it was renegotiated for 48.
okay.
And then, we also have roughly 45,000 that we anticipate will be spent on the expert testimony and, working with us on settlements.
It's 93.
Plus the 20, so it's 115.
Versus 119?
Okay, so then, explain to me again where we saved. Where did you find $47,000 in savings that the Sullivan Marconi was talking about?
Originally, this budget would have even been higher. It would have been up another $40,000 to $50,000.
If we stayed with the old assessors.
Do we have new assessors?
Yes.
Municipal resources,
So it's not Will anymore?
right? They charged us $70,000 in 17, $80,000 in 18, before the rebound.
So you don't see the money, because it could have been worse.
We use,
Right.
we use up-to-date figures, not projected figures. We get the, we get the number in, and rather than putting a figure that we thought compared to what we had a track record on, we bid it out and got it down, and we used that figure in the budget.
Anybody know, any of you guys know in round numbers what the abatement total tax impact is that they're requesting?
Oh,
Oh,
we can say what the power plant's asking for.
Right.
We put the two together, correct me if I'm wrong, 90 million?
Is what they're looking for in abatement?
yeah.
Yes.
And we're saying, no. We have nothing to lose. at that
That's
rate.
plus interest too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and plus all the other associated costs, so
Legal
we
definition.
utilize.
It's sprayed and that's it.
No, the two power plants.
So let me do a mental math run. If it was $90 million and it's roughly $9,000 tax impact per million, it
Yeah.
would be $90,000, but we're gonna spend $120,000 fighting it.
For each year.
Then we got.
See, it's not gonna end this year. The same issue is gonna come up next year, the year after, and the year after, as they devalue their plants.
So we're gonna put up the same $120,000 to fight them every year?
That's why,
We
I
hope we
think in
resolve it.
part, that's why we decided this could be the year that we challenge them.
We've been fortunate to work out settlement agreements with each of the power plants for the past decade
Yeah.
plus.
In 2 to 3 year stints, right?
And,
Correct.
right, and we're hoping for the same.
Yeah, you can look at a tax impact rate of $840,000.
In past years.
To lose that much appraisal, you have to raise everybody else's tax by $840,000.
Martha.
The only good thing about it is the school assessment went down because our property value. No, you're right, and then I don't know how many years back they go, but that's every year.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the past bracketed agreements that were usually in 3-year agreements did not drop as much
negotiate or you go to court, you're gonna do it's a 3-year agreement?
That's part of the negotiations, but the longer we go out, the more level we can keep the property tax, so it's not jumping all over the place.
Sure.
Because they're contributing 52% of our taxes.
Yes, yes. The power plants,
Yeah.
Just the two.
just the two.
Okay.
They had one year's selectmen, I had 3 visits from the sheriff leaving me subpoenas, or whatever they call them. For an abatement request.
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay. Are we ready to vote now on this? We understand this enough?
Can I ask one question
Okay.
about the legal fees? So, we are spending effectively 95,000, correct? Or that's what the budget's calling for?
96,
Between-
It's a separate page.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, it's a 2-page, I'm sorry, it's a 2-page section. A little confusing with the bottom line, the rest of the bottom line, the other one.
So the assessing is
So we're voting on the assessment right now?
Do I get a motion on that?
No, we haven't taken on assessing.
All right, I'm getting 146, 190.
Finance and assessing and legal, 2 separate items. Yeah, we got to take a vote on finance and assessing.
Jack, where'd you get that figure?
On the first page.
18,100.
So it's 146, 490, that's what you're asking for,
That's the
right?
motion, yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for 146, 490. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstention?
Who's the second?
Emily.
You made it.
It'll be quick.
Jack.
Okay, the next one is it legal next?
Yes.
No, it's insurance.
Now your question.
The legal isn't even on the list here, is it? It's not.
It's a 2-part.
It's a 2-part, okay, 2-part line. Okay, so this is the collective legal for everybody but the planning board has their own budget.
We're on page 5-2.
18.
Yes.
Yeah, 22, Ken.
Tab 18.
Right, at 5-2.
Okay, any questions on this one? We talked about this, I think, with the fire department and why we wanted to keep it all in this budget. All right, yes.
Yes, so, it's 96,000 is the total
Yeah.
for the legal budget.
Mhm.
So the 75,000, is that something that how does that work? So that's just a flat rate for the year, or how does that?
Hourly rates.
We
It's
did
an
bid
hourly
that
rate.
estimate, right?
Right, we did bid it out.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question.
The last year, we
Year
put it
ago.
out.
Yeah.
So you get tax assessment negotiations in that line, but then also in the appraisals?
That's the lawyer, the other one's the appraiser.
Cause he's an expert witness, that's.
Right.
Gotcha, okay.
I have a question about the general, services 320. It was at 20,000, or excuse me, 14,700, and it's going up to 20. Just curious as to just any more detail behind that, why there's quite a bit of an increase there. This is
Quite a bit from 2018.
Yeah, miscellaneous attorney and lobbying services, just any more detail to that, why we would put in something that's 6,000 more?
We're currently very concerned about school funding and donor town issues. And the towns, particularly in the seacoast, have been talking about retaining an attorney that all of the towns hired together to lobby for us up at the state house. That's the primary.
Deja vu there, that's.
Yeah, I remember.
Costs less money if we do it with a whole bunch of towns.
Yeah, it doesn't look as bad as, well, at least what I was saying so far, some years ago, we were paying 6,000.
It's not totally killed yet.
No, no.
We got a new study committee that's up and starting to work next week on it.
Right.
You know, it's, the big elephants in the room, while we're talking about 1,000 here and 1,000 there, is the power plants and the school assessment. Either one of those could be a real hit, you know, $2, $3, $4 in the tax.
Absolutely.
So it's worth fighting as long as we can.
Take the biggest contributors, what's with the rest?
John, make a motion on the 96,004.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Alright, okay, now let's move on to.
Oh, insurance. Insurance.
What kind of insurance are we discussing now?
Flying.
Insurance, okay, insurance is just that first paragraph.
Well, all right.
And we've got 267, 665, is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions on insurance?
The workers' comp, the big number.
The reason for that was last year, unannounced to us, Primex gave many districts, many towns, a holiday, didn't have to pay the full amount. This year, that's not the case. That's why you see the 103 versus the 178.
Is that through an HMA or LGC?
Primex,
Primex to them,
Yeah.
right.
yeah, wasn't there some lawsuit or something, there was a big legal issue with them, and they had overcharged for a few years, that may be the reason we got the break.
Yeah.
Get pretty close to that.
Settlement of some kind.
Yeah.
So the one-time only break,
Yeah.
so you're back to a normal schedule. Any other questions on insurance? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Regional associations. Bottom line is, what, 48,399? I'm giving a motion on that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second? Did I get a second?
Yes.
You did. Brandon, thank you. Okay, any questions on our regional associations?
What did we do for due diligence this year? We have the bunker gear guy. Did we send our letters at all this year? Anybody reply?
Actually, there's one additional one, Crossroads this year, and the cost of coastal route.
Yeah, these miscellaneous charities, the Crossroads. Crossroads, that was nice of you guys, $2,000. Is that a request?
In the past, they saved us money, but
Yeah.
we had the hotel in town, the middle of town, that if somebody was like welfare type, we managed to get them in the Crossroads as soon as they couldn't offer a lot of welfare.
My understanding is that we fund these primarily when there's residents that take advantage of them and use them.
Usually when they request, they tell you what benefit the town received. Like they don't get the money.
So basically, we're paying our own, this goes back to Pilgrim law, every colonial town is responsible for its pool. We try to face them off in another town, if usually the governor would say, nope, she's yours or he's yours.
Yeah, that's very much part of special education today.
Okay,
Okay, so, we'll wait with this one again this year, hopefully, but, has there been communication, or have you gotten any kind of communication from each one of these charities saying that either residents benefit from the services, or they would like you to donate?
Yes,
Every single one?
every single one.
Okay. Well, that's what used to happen, is they would be on here, and there used to be a resident that would benefit from it, and 20 years later, we're still paying them, and nobody's even sending us a thank you, or asking us.
We don't do that.
We changed that.
we appreciate that new policy that you apparently are
Passionate about.
Yeah.
Okay, do we vote on the bottom line? We ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Nay, all those.
I'm sorry?
I oppose.
One opposition, okay.
You mind saying why?
I just don't think it's appropriate for taxpayers to pay for charities.
I love it.
Low voice again.
I'm
Not
back.
to say that.
I'm back.
to say this.
I don't know workhouse.
I've been beaten down on this for
Well, you
years. It's
remember
not a
that.
taxpayer's responsibility to donate.
Brandon
to
and I
charity.
used to
You
argue
can't just
all the
donate on
time.
behalf of the residents to whoever you want. I agree.
Taxpayers' money shouldn't be spent that way, but.
Well, except for mental health, you read a lot of that, right?
Okay, we're on to street lighting, tab 25.
Coast bus.
24. And so these are,
What was your savings, Jamie?
Budget's 13, selectmen's budget, okay, so.
22.
So the budget in 15, but you've only spent 10. Okay, well, that's because of Woodbury Avenue, you're gonna pick that up. Alright, yeah, those same as Woodbury Avenue here, the signals of Woodbury, so
Make a
the
motion.
increases really are credited to Woodbury Avenue,
Signals.
Correct.
signals and street lighting.
And you'll notice how the, streetlights that were converted, that budget has gone down.
It used to be 27, 28,000, now it's about 13.
Good, yeah, so cut it in half, so there's,
That worked very well.
that's a savings, Jamie, on that one.
Make a motion for 20,000.
I'll second it.
John.
Okay, any further discussion on street lighting? Yeah, all in favor?
Any opposed? Chairman, can I make a recommendation that we hand away the fire department's report instead of the last people hanging on?
Are they still here? I didn't realize the fire.
We're still watching.
We're just
Taking it all in.
What is,
They're not on the, are they on the?
You guys here for a topic or just
Nope.
taking it all in?
You have to
Take
take
it all.
entertainment value. Brandon, just go
You're
pull the
right.
alarm, they'll leave.
You guys wanna revisit health insurance? Mental health.
Okay, transfer station, that's tab 28. Okay, so we're up a bit, mostly probably tipping fees. Anyone wanna move that bottom line?
71,254, I will move.
Okay,
I'll
is there a
second it.
Okay.
Where does the compactor fit here?
If I can address that, this is what's happened. Originally, there was three-phase going down Little Bay. That's what you explained to us. There isn't.
Okay,
The three-phase ends at,
Nimble Hill.
Nimble Hill, and they want $100,000 to extend three-phase from Nimble Hill to the recycling center.
Eversource wants that money?
Yes, so we made the
Oh, boy.
determination, we made the determination that it is not economically sound to go ahead with that compactor. I mean, we'd be all 100 years old before we even be looking at any savings. The $100,000,
No.
will take me that long.
Would Eversource work out a deal that they could put in?
No, they
Well,
wouldn't.
Given that they put this electrical cord on it?
They already got everything here.
We try to work that deal, they wouldn't buy it.
No. It's also requires, we found out too, all rewiring inside the transfer station itself.
Need a whole three-phase panel.
No, all the physical wiring running around has to be,
Redone.
Why didn't we know this before we did all this work?
We were told it was there, it's not.
We were told it was there. And once we looked, once we got into it and worked on it, we found it wasn't there, so that's what.
after we
found
got the compactor and made reservations for it, the next logical thing was to go to public, Eversource.
We bought the compactor?
No, we didn't.
Said
No,
after.
we stopped the project because it's just not economically sound.
So I guess the question is, how did we were told, by who?
Jennifer,
Yeah.
we know the person, but I'm not gonna throw that person under the bus. The person made a mistake.
It's a big mistake.
It's a town person, I don't think it's necessary to identify the individual.
But did it cost us any money?
No,
No,
no, we got out of it before
No.
we realized it and got out of
We
it.
need to
All right,
figure it out.
next question.
Yeah, well, just to comment on that, it did cost us money because we used our special projects manager, Karen Anderson, we paid her to do all this research and to figure and to make phone calls and go to Greenland to look at theirs and all those other things, so it did cost us money.
correct.
So, it wasn't free.
Nothing is free.
Nothing is free, but if it's, the background, I think, to Jennifer's point, I think the background of finding out would have been the first step.
No, obviously we don't wanna put ourselves in a situation where we're in a gotcha situation, right? And this is one of those, and so it's just, to the extent that we can avoid this kind of thing in the future, I think we should try to do that.
Absolutely,
You
we concur.
have to engage in some studies before you discover the three-phase. I mean, you have to have somebody.
Sounds like a mistake.
But you notice Newfields has stopped recycling.
Sometimes you
People
want
out
to
here.
It's just getting
Can't
difficult.
do that here because where would you campaign if we didn't recycle?
No, I'll move that we strike 497. I think it's just a psychological money, you know, it's like a feel-good payment. It's like, oh, I'm recycling, so I'm gonna pay $28,000 a year, so I mean, I think we should be, the taxpayer should be paying money for real value, not, oh yeah, I mean, this is gonna make us feel good about ourselves, you know, so I'll move to strike that item.
Which item, I'm
The
sorry?
28,000, 497, 28,000 for recycling.
28, okay. Now, we've already had a motion on the bottom line, is that correct?
Yes.
So
Okay, so
Bill,
yours-
I don't even sorry, John. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, I'm just trying to sort through this. We have a motion on the bottom line.
So his motion
So
is.
your
to reduce
motion
it.
is an amendment
Right.
All right,
to eliminate recycling
yeah.
for 28,000. Is there a second to that amendment?
Can you explain to me where you're coming from?
Well, I just think, though, I mean, why I think that's an unnecessary expense?
Yes.
Because,
Can I just quickly respond? I think the good news is, it's more than just a feel-good. This saves money out of our regular tonnage that's going to waste management, and it's much cheaper cost. So instead of sending this tonnage to waste management at $69 a ton, it's going through recycling at a much cheaper.
so you're saying the recycling tonnage is actually cost less than the recycling tonnage?
Exactly.
Than the regular
Oh.
trash collection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the tipping fees that Lenny has to pay are pretty high too.
Huh.
And then you're paying him the whole, probably extra loads.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, we're in Lamprey, with the other waste as well, and that gets a different rate for us because we're combined a bunch of communities that do that. And they're in the same situation, they do the same thing, they have the recycling, it makes a difference. on
So the
bottom
tipping
line.
rate is lower for the recycling?
Right.
Okay, well, I guess I guess it's okay.
It does make you feel good too, but.
Yeah, true.
So,
That's
Well-
a good clarification, thank you.
so are the tipping fees included in this line item?
Right.
That's all waste services.
No,
No, tipping fees on the
that's
next
not
page.
Lenny.
Right.
Tipping fees on the next page.
Right.
So are those are just the tipping fees for the non-recyclables? is
Right.
that-
Right,
On the second page.
That's
Right.
what Lenny pays when he dumps his,
So the non-recyclables tipping fees are 24,000, and the recyclables are 28,000. It sounds like it's much higher to me, right? Because I'm sure the tonnage is much lower for the recyclables, so how could the tipping fees be less for the recyclables?
We also have things in there like the Liberty Tire fee, tires come out of there that,
Right, but that's gotta be just negligible, right? I mean, in comparison to the tipping fees. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Tires are There's also 70,000 of roadside collection. If we don't bring it to
That's,
that's your garbage pickup.
they
Right.
pick it up and then he pays to dump it on the tipping fees.
right, but do you have to add those together to get your number that you're looking for?
Well, well, I'm not sure, but I mean, the tipping fees, I would assume the tipping fees are for everything, but you're saying the tipping fees for the recycling are separate and they're in 497? Or are they?
Yeah.
The residential waste collection tipping fees that go to waste management are in $4.99 on the second page at
$4.99.
$24,000.
Okay, so all the tipping fees, recyclable and non-recycling, are in 499 then?
No, I
No.
mean, think about this,
No.
this is tipping fees coming from your transfer station, this is tipping fees coming from your driveway.
Yes.
So this is waste, this is recycling.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying
You're
is
correct.
the amount of stuff coming from the roadside is, in terms of tons, is way more than what's going on.
Because we're not recycling tonnage as much as we are.
Right, exactly.
That 28,000 includes TVs and batteries and tires and.
Computers
and metal too, I think.
Metal,
It's all
right.
buckets up there.
Right, but it would have to, that would have to be like
Refrigerators.
it would have to be like 80 or 90% of that cost for that to make up as much, to suggest that tipping fees were less.
I'm glad to have Craig Daigle write a quick memo to the budget committee for you to take up.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be pretty simple. There are bins, tipping bins, and then there are bins that are recycling bins. And it's just a matter of what charges us more. It's cheaper to fill up the recycling bin, from what you're telling us, than it is the tipping bin.
That's what's debatable though.
I know it's
Is
debatable, because we don't have a
We're
hard
spending
figure.
more money on recycling than we are on
Yeah,
tipping.
but that recycling includes hazardous waste like tires and batteries.
It's not.
and fluorescent-
There's hazardous waste
That's separate.
on a separate line item.
Oh, is it? Okay,
That's-
we're,
Well, no,
supposed to-
tires and batteries
are in the tipping fee.
is in recycling.
Recycling.
Alright, that's what I meant.
That's household hazard waste, is that
Okay.
line you're looking at.
Now,
You
the
can't
metal
just
bin,
throw
is
those
that
away.
Tipping, is that under recycle still? The one that all the metal goes in? I would assume
Yes.
so.
Okay.
I believe so.
The charges for different things for different buckets.
Right, so I'll still propose there's an amendment, I just, my intuition is that a lot of money's being wasted there for no reason.
So you hold it, you're keeping an amendment.
Yeah, I think it's about.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
Second with discussion. I will second for discussion.
You'll second it for discussion.
You know, there is a common thread these days also where the amount of recycling is outweighed the need of recycling.
That's the problem.
And it's kind of waste anyways, and I don't know if I can vote to strike it, or I would vote to strike it, but I think it's worth taking a look at.
That could change the minute foreign markets open up again. The primary source of all of our materials in the United States was China.
Right.
And that's been shut down. Now, if they come to a trade negotiation, who knows if that's gonna open? But that's part of the reason why it went up this year. And you are right, there are places that won't even take it anymore for recycling.
So, yeah, so I mean, my understanding, following what Ken just said, is that in the very beginning, like the recycle was often just something got thrown away and it was hidden that they were thrown away. Then they started shipping it to China to really say they were recycling. So now we ship it to China, and then the Chinese throw it away in a landfill. So it's like, you're basically paying to ship garbage across the ocean so it can be in a landfill in China instead of a landfill
Which
in the other states.
That's not happening. John, that's not happening anymore.
We're gonna have.
Okay, so I think what
You can bring used
what
tires.
we would like to have maybe is, what are the actual tipping fees for the recycled containers, and what are the tipping fees for the other containers? Just that, cut out that figure and forget the tires. I think everybody likes the service of people collecting tires, batteries, fluorescent bulbs, and that stuff, because it's a real pain to throw it away as a
Well,
civilian.
not that, if people get new tires, they'll charge you to dispose of your old ones, I tell them, throw them in the trunk, I'm getting rid of them.
They will, they'll charge us,
$2
a couple bucks a
or
tire.
whatever.
Okay, yes,
I think, if we're gonna do that as well, or if we're gonna have Tim write a memo, I would also like to see, I mean, if you're gonna go down that road, I would assume the roadside / collection would go up if you were gonna get rid of recycling.
sure.
So,
The volume would double.
yeah, so you
Yeah,
need
that
to
old
see.
rusted truck may not cut it anymore, so the
Right.
price
Right,
could
so
go
now we're
up.
talking
Because
about another
if you
truck.
cut off the recycling, I'm just gonna throw in the ash can, so we pay
Right,
more for
right.
that.
So I don't think you can look at just, my point is, I don't think you can just look at just the tipping.
Absolutely, you're right.
You're right, it's a bigger field. If I go to the recycling center every week and I put out my ash can every other week, or every third or something. Okay, do we wanna vote on the amendment? All those, the amendment is to do away with recycling. It's a $28,000 budget. Now, we would overspend the other budget items if we did that, because we haven't compensated. But anyway, that's the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have one person in favor of eliminating recycling. Okay, all opposed? Okay, motion fails, the amendment fails. Are we ready on the motion?
I do think it would not be a bad idea for Craig to educate us a
He
little bit
certainly should, it's a good conversation.
Sure.
at some point in time.
I'm glad to ask him,
Yeah.
whichever member of the committee.
Maybe, yeah, just a little memo, you
What's-
can help
what's
with,
going
why,
on in the
why
world of
recycle
recycling?
now? And you just go through the cost, just from a cost standpoint. We'll.
Do you remember the days we used to have a truck sitting in the parking lot, you put brown glass in this one and white glass in this
Yeah.
one?
Yes.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah, it was, we went to single stream recently.
Bring
Yeah.
some good ones.
It was more difficult.
Okay.
Someplace to the bottom line.
It's changing.
I like it. Any, ready to vote? All in favor of the bottom line, was it 94.5?
7-1-0-1.
Aye.
7-1-2-5-4.
7125.
That's the wrong page.
And back on tipping fees. 71,254, okay. That's just recycling. All right.
94,500, John.
Yeah, you got a 94,000, is there a second on
Second.
tipping fees? Any discussion?
It's a
All in
separate
favor?
vote. It's two separate votes,
I'm
John.
so lost, I'm all.
Okay, I'm making a motion, Eleanor, at $94,500.
Did we ever vote on the
And you
71?
seconded
We
it.
just
That's
did.
combining
Yeah.
it.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not, that's these two.
We voted on that.
So residential, I'm sorry.
That's
Right,
just residential,
waste
yep.
collection.
Yeah, okay, now we're on tipping fees. All in favor of?
Yes, residential waste collection, to include tipping fees, at a total of $94,500.
Yeah, okay, hang on, there's also residential. Maybe another year we can combine some of these. So we don't have to vote on every ash can.
Great.
All right, residential waste collection, that costs us $70,500. Do we have a motion? So make a motion?
I did, John, the total there for that budget is, that
Well,
bar
that
is
is a
94,500.
Well, that's what I wanted to do, was vote on the bottom line.
All right, let's do that.
Voting on those two items, roadside and residential. All in favor of 94.5 for those two items up above? Okay. Any objection,
Nay.
one nay, okay. Residential waste? Now
We
on-
did that.
We're on pest control. Tab 20.
Be careful, Brandon, it's on pest control.
Oh, here we go. All right.
We've been to the hazardous waste collection.
Okay, we've got a $38,000 item for pest control. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Yes,
Is,
you got four.
Thank you.
Emily?
Yes.
all right.
So do we bid this out, is my first question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many different companies you got in the area?
Two.
This is on two?
$80,000
Mike,
for the design of, we bid it out and
You do
we're now
Dragon?
awarding. Yes.
Any further discussion?
Oh, yes. I would just like to know, so this is this is specifically for town, land, and roads, that's what it says, correct?
Yes.
And that so we're not doing anything but town, lands, and roads, correct?
No.
Driveways.
Okay.
For example, if someone has a half-mile driveway, they could ask to go down partway down there and take care of the mosquitoes. The thinking behind that is, if you have that driveway and you live next door and we don't treat that area, you're gonna see them as well.
Right, so what do you do about shared driveways?
Oh, that's hard allowed.
Well, we have some.
No, it's the same thing.
It'd be the same thing.
So it's a combination that both of the neighbors decide, both of the people decide.
My understanding is they have to request that.
Right.
So.
They
I'm
have-
saying no.
Well, they have to request to be on the no spray list.
Okay, so what
But
is,
there are certain driveways in town that they've been doing for years that are longer that they go down. And people call and ask them to come down their driveways or, yes.
The stuff that they're spraying, I know there's a lot of issues about bees and
Okay,
pollinators.
is this relevant?
Yes,
All right,
because you're spraying stuff, right?
Spraying stuff.
I wanna make sure that the stuff is targeting just the mosquitoes and is not killing the, beneficial, things.
Great question. Actually, that is a concern, and if there are bees that are identified close to where spraying has been requested, they cannot spray.
I know there are people who have bees in town.
Right, so
They're all on
Frink
no
Farm
spray
down
list.
Patterson Lane, there's several
Yeah.
locations at the corner of, Little Bay Extension and McIntyre.
The companies are aware
And
of
how
it.
far around of a radius, cause I know these bees fly pretty far, right, a mile or so from their, hive.
I don't know. Not a big guy.
No.
I think also, you know, standing water.
Talking with these people last weekend, that's what he said.
Yeah, I'll just comment that, that's why I'm gonna vote against that line item, it's just, I think it's, it's not a practice to do.
One of the largest turnouts we ever had in a public hearing when we took that up.
And
There was 50 people.
I understand both sides of the issue, I just wanna make sure it's been discussed and it's not a trivial, issue.
It sounds like it's been addressed.
I think if you have some standing wet type property too, if you guys, I think that we treat that.
The other issue there too is the health protection of children and adults. That's
Yeah.
already jeopardized.
Older generation.
By what, spraying or not spraying?
By not,
Not spraying.
The other ones are tested triply, I think.
yeah.
So is there a policy, I just would like to know, this is not, but is there a policy about when, I have a hard time supporting this, especially when I don't know when it's happening. So I've got my fans blowing in my kids' windows, and then they come down the street and all the air is getting sucked in with all these chemicals. So I would like to see the town make an effort to notify the residents when this is gonna be happening, because
I
It
thought.
happens
there
on the
was a
same
schedule.
night.
It's a routine.
it was, but I noticed this last year, it was not always.
Oh, really?
Oh,
See, I didn't even know that.
schedule. So,
If you call me and let me know, I can call them and ask,
Okay.
because I thought, that I was told.
it's a roof, we
it
always
was
thought it was
the
a
same
roof,
night each
yeah.
week,
okay,
cause people do like to shut their windows.
yes.
Rains, maybe they do it.
Can we vote on this now? We all set? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Nay.
Two against, okay. Yeah. We now on to health, that's $2,000. Down, looks like it's down from 8. This is mostly water. Any questions on this? Okay, yes.
You may not wanna take my question, but
Go.
so from what I understand, when this fund was established, the idea of it was that we were going to be able to fund some water testing for people some blood testing for people in town that were interested. So what has the outreach been in terms of getting that? And I know there were some questions about how we were going to, if these people had health insurance or had other means of paying it. So, like, just hear what's gone on with this program.
We've only had one person come forward who asked it, and they haven't really asked for it yet, they're still in part of deliberation. So that's, we'd like to keep it in there, because even as late as today, I think in Concord, they're trying to change the PFOS, so we don't know, and we're still fighting with the Department of Defense and the Air Force to get them for some help and assistance.
I thought I saw an article today, I may be wrong, that the Air Force had agreed to finance.
I would see.
I thought I saw that.
But if I may, we also put that in the beginning as seed money to show the town that we are seriously interested in this, and the Air Force should take notice to us. That was basically why I supported it.
Do we know what the cost is to test, one individual?
800.
About
Yeah.
$800
Yeah.
a test?
Yeah.
There's people wells, I think.
And it's a one-off test, or do
No,
you
that's
do it a couple, do you do it once every year, or,
I think it's just an initial test, Doctor.
it's a one-time?
At first, to start with, to see. You gotta be, yeah.
Okay, we ready to vote? $2,000? We have a motion.
I don't think we did, we don't have.
I'll move it, I'll second.
Okay.
Should be quick.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Okay, we move into welfare, direct assistance, $5,000, do I have a motion?
Move. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Did a good job spending it this year, should we increase it?
We did.
We might very well have to overexpend this line.
Okay, but this is
Hopefully
around
we
the
have
figure
all.
estimate of what it was.
It's amazing what you pay for on that line. Cable service.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Yes, capital outlay, what do we now? Capital outlay done. Debbie? That's right. Electric budget 133. This is, same as last, the department budget, actual. So it varies from year to year, but that's pretty much what we have to pay. I don't know if there's any flexibility on this.
You see the year 2 of the lease purchases for ambulance equipment and SCBA in here, as well as the Coakley, landfill continuing.
Yeah.
Can you help me understand what we net zero? We spent zero, right? And it's going up to 28 for 2020? For 985, the Copley?
Right. We had, we were trying to determine where is best to put these funds. And this is debt service, these funds that you see here, 28,200. But in another section of the budget, in capital outlay, you'll see the rest of the Coakley funds that we don't know from month to month what new projects the EPA is going to require the Coakley group to fund. Engineering studies, testing of the cap on the landfill.
So basically, we don't really, are you saying we don't really have control over that? I mean,
Right, exactly.
So if somebody tells us you have to do this, and we have to do it.
We attend the meetings of the monthly Coakley landfill at the health enforcement. We go there and review it with the people who are there. We're a 5% stakeholder in this, so they tell us what to do.
We have to do legally, we have no choice.
Is there was one time to talk about a balloon payment at the end? Is that
Yeah, the
still
balloon payment, they didn't even talk about that. The last time they had one of these at a meeting about 2 months ago, they said that this might be settled. They got one now that they've extended the payments out to 100 years.
Not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, this was a Massachusetts.
Because I wonder, let's just pay our thing off and be done with it. But,
They
Yes,
wouldn't-
we did that.
yeah.
That's for the.
looks like you finished paying one of them.
This is in the days when people threw away everything.
That's right.
Particularly the Air Force.
Yeah.
No recycling.
And no recycling.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they have the hazardous waste day at the Portsmouth Garage.
Right.
Anybody who's never taken advantage of that, it's quite the operation.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to vote on?
What is that debt service based on though? I don't understand why that's under debt service.
This Coakley payment is an actual payment for,
Right. A scheduled payment every year, it's a set amount.
Okay.
That's
And that represents 5% of something?
exactly,
Five
something
percent
it
of
sounds
total
like.
cost.
The other one in capital outlay is the
ongoing.
ongoing and big one that they just send us a bill and say,
Yeah, gotcha.
hey, it's.
Thank you.
I think that the auditors asked us to do it this way, wasn't it, Veronica? Wasn't the auditors make a recommendation?
Yeah, right, to move it.
Is there another reason also why you have SCBA's in here, but you don't have like the police tasers or other equipment? Why is that one in here? Why do we put the SCBA's in here and not in the fire department?
This is a lease.
But even the tasers are at the police department, right? Did we go over that whole thing 2
Right.
years ago?
And this might have been, the size of the budget item
I think it was also a warrant article, and we asked the auditors where to put it.
Right.
And I think it's because it was a warrant article, we had to put the first year in the warrant article and then the succeeding years
Gotcha.
in the, in
This
that.
is also a lease to own, so this is basically a finance.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So that
Correct.
it's
Lease to purchase,
Yes.
right.
so it's a $1 out lease.
Are we ready to vote on the bottom line? Do we have a motion? Motion, was there a motion on this one? We got one now.
No, there wasn't,
Can I
okay,
get a
now
second?
there is. Emily?
Second on the bottom line, 133,770.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It's late.
All right. So that's that one. That capital reserve trust, tab 4.
Maybe we should have that.
That was it.
Okay,
We did that service, we did capital outlay.
That's the one we just voted on, isn't it? Tab?
No.
No, that was debt service.
It's a two-page.
Oh, it's a two-part, debt/capital outlay, 2 parts in 1 tab, okay. So that was debt service, where's the capital outlay? The next page?
Eight-two.
Okay. That bottom line is 107,530, okay. A second, motion on that?
Yeah, can we,
Motion,
yeah, make it
Okay, we'll take a second and we'll discuss it. Is there a second?
second.
Okay, go ahead.
Just somebody explain 702, I don't understand what's going on here. Antenna battery backup for $5,800, 3/4 radius for 10,000.
The good news there is we did that last year, it's all done.
lease payments for SCBA's are in debt service, not in capital outlay. Okay, and 3 portable radios were put in on radio maintenance warrant article, or why?
This was right in the budget.
So what are we looking at? There's a $0 for this
Right.
year.
It
Okay,
was, this was a last year thing,
so why is it here?
just to show that, you know, why,
History of.
we have 2018 through 20 showing, so,
Okay.
so the budget committee knows what that
You
was
see
for.
the history.
That line item will stay open?
It's closed,
So I mean, well, it keeps coming back, well, you'll drop it off after you want.
exactly.
Used to have 4 pages.
The auditors like it better too, there's 3 years in there so we can see a trend.
Alright.
Any other questions?
We're buying 2 cruisers this year?
Just one,
Just one.
$69,000.
The fingerprint machine, remember, we
That's
talked
right.
about that?
Yeah.
Police
Remember the
cruisers
chief
is-
came in and spoke about,
Yeah.
Live
real-time
scan.
print
Live scan station.
I see that MIA.
in his budget.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the updated fingerprint,
Right.
the electronic one. They were still rolling fingers in ink.
And
Why
they
did we
were
see that
missing,
twice, though? That's what I'm missing.
Pardon?
I've seen it twice. That was in the,
he just discussed it as part of his budget, but it's here,
it's not in his budget.
no.
no.
The funds are here.
Okay, any other questions? Capital outlays? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay, good. There's that one. Now I think we go to tab 4, so I'll ask the budget item. This is single bottom line. Capital reserve.
Right, you could just work all the way down to
These are these.
these are the same as the.
So basically, these are the warrant articles that tab 4 refers to,
Right,
okay? And you have them on your list here, and you have a printout too. Okay, the first one is major roads capital reserve. And that money is coming from Eversource?
right.
Okay.
You're going to take the $130,000 from
And place
Eversource.
it in the capital reserve for major roads.
So the warrant will be so worded that it's no effect on the tax rate. It's
Exactly.
single fund.
Does that offset our line item? Or is that a capital
That's
reserve, so
a-
it's totally different?
It's a
So you're just you're building up the capital, you're gonna build up the capital reserve?
Exactly.
They got the money, so they have to do something with it.
It'll go to 190,000?
These are the articles that we discussed
Right,
in the fire.
exactly.
No, these are the ones we didn't discuss.
These are the ones we
That's
did.
in addition to the one.
We did not
No,
discuss
these
any
are
of
the
these
ones.
yet. Yes, these are all new.
So here's what I don't understand, Martha, so we're gonna put $190,000 into major roads capital reserve, and then we're also gonna spend our 130 something on our resurfacing budget this year.
Those two numbers backwards, 190 on the resurfacing and 130.
Well, the balance is 58,000, we're gonna add 132 to it, that's what I'm getting to.
It actually
Oh, I'm
says-
sorry, I thought you meant the resurfacing.
This, I understand that this is gonna be for a new road, is that correct?
Building out of industrial corridor road for future industrial development.
Where's that?
It runs, it's actually extension of Shattuck Way all the way to Gosling Road.
That's phase 4 of the original.
Behind
plan, which
Wilcox.
was many years ago.
Wilcox has already started the road.
Yeah.
That
That's
one
part of
we'll
the
have
money
to
we have
plow
in
and
it.
whatnot.
Pardon?
We'll have to plow and maintain and do everything too.
Yes,
Is there,
but we open up land that we can build, that'll give us more frontage and more operation to build, just for sale for industrial or commercial or build out for taxes.
what's the plan timeline on that?
It's really contingent on Wilcox when they're gonna start pushing the road through.
Right.
We've planned for it now for 3 years, and they're just, I believe, finally getting to what they told us, to the point where they wanna build it.
So they are paying for some of it, for a section of
We
it.
did the engineering on it,
They did the engineering.
Right.
yeah,
All right.
all the way out.
So they paid for the engineering, that's done.
That's right.
And this would actually construct the road. How much of it is their frontage?
Well, we also had a budget line item there for Wilcox Way, which was $30,000.
$40,000?
75.
75?
Yeah, okay, so are you gonna combine those two? Do we know what the price is of Wilcox Way?
So we have a bunch of moving parts here.
Is it a net?
Wilcox Industries agreed to build out a road that, all the way to the sewer treatment plant, to the tune of over 300,000. They asked the Board of Selectmen 5 years ago, could they please have some money from the town to do the overlay of this road they were building for the 75,000 that's in your budget. The committee said last year, let's identify this, keep it separate, 75,000 for the overlay only.
Overlay is what, pavement?
Yeah.
That's the
Right,
top
just the
coat, like
pavement.
this.
And that's not the whole length, that's just a
To
section
the
of
sewer plant.
the sewer plant.
Then the long range plan is to build it all the way to Gosling, so that industrial traffic can traverse on that road rather than on Woodbury, and for build out, industrial development.
Dennis, so yeah, he was part of this went on 10, 12 years ago, maybe more. When, they wanted to extend that road all the way through to Gosling.
That's right. I was on that committee 20 years ago.
I went to the hearing, there was like a dozen lawyers, everybody you could think of. And I thought at one time, now maybe it's been too late, or maybe it's been spent, that we were supposed to get a chunk of money to go towards that road. That was a long, I think Radigan, I don't know,
It's not there. You mentioned that a year or
Yeah,
two ago, we
it
checked
was
it out, it's
supposed to
not
be
there.
promised to us, but maybe they didn't.
Now, who
put it
owns,
in.
who will own the frontage on this road?
I think it's a public service.
Public service is part of it, the town owns the sewer part of it,
Yeah.
and, the whole.
Is there any land that's developable? We talked
yeah.
about.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
And who owns that land?
Well, it was public service, or Eversource.
Have they sold it, or they still own it?
They still own it as of now, I believe.
So I-
They diverse, yeah, but they will,
This seems
we'll
like-
talk,
I'd like to answer that question, why are we paying for that? 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't have to worry about incentives for getting business and industry to come to town. Currently, we have towns to the north of us and towns to the south of us that have and probably will continue to offer tax incentives to build in their town. We don't offer a thing. The only thing we have is our low tax advantage. And then if we can put that road through,
On somebody else's land.
no, the road will be the town.
Yeah.
We have a potential of developing that land. If we sit back and wait and expect a company or a corporation to come in and take care of that road for us so that they can access that land, it's our opinion, given what's happening, it will not happen, because the surrounding communities, it's very competitive now. for
Over
economic-
Rochester, Summersworth, they're all offering incentives to get
We
people
offer
in.
nothing.
We have
What kind of incentives are they offering?
low taxes for a certain period of time, bring in water
Which
or
we
sewer
have.
for them.
Right, which we have.
Which we have, also, there's, I mean, I don't think that they're even comparable, you can't even compare a hiring pool in Rochester to what Newington, Portsmouth, I-95 pool.
That's one of the big problems we have right now. You talk to anybody, and I've done a lot of interviewing because of economic development, going to these different companies. The biggest problem we have is employees, and the biggest problem is a lot of them come from the Dover, or above Dover, Farmington, Rochester area, and they don't wanna come down. They don't wanna come down the Spalding Turnpike. Maybe in a year or two when the bridge gets all done and everything else, they might open it up. But right now, you go over to Wilcox, and he'll tell you that's the biggest problem, and you can't get people to come. And they're good paying jobs, they're not the,
This is a rabbit hole though, because this, yeah, there's better paying jobs on this side of it, and the talent pool, I should say, more than the hiring pool, is substantially better on the seacoast area in North
Absolutely.
Massachusetts than it is in Rochester, Farmington.
yeah.
Alright, so if it's higher paying jobs and higher end jobs that are here, you have a hiring problem right now because of a low unemployment rate.
Absolutely,
That's the biggest issue.
right.
So I kind of with Jen, I think we got a low tax rate, we have access to I-95 corridor where we're a half an hour from the Massachusetts border, or an hour from Boston. It's relatively easy to expect people to be able to commute here more so than it is to Rochester, Farmington. We're gonna build it, here's the biggest thing I'm foggy on though, we're gonna build a road that gives developable land that we don't own, that we hope Eversource someday decides to sell so that somebody can put something in
Somebody
there.
builds a big plant, we've got a couple of people we can't discuss, that are interested in part of those lands.
So we're gonna put in.
We put the road in a year or two, we'll get the tax money back. I mean, it's like,
If you sell, if somebody else besides the town sells it.
So the see, the thing is, we're funding a master, we don't have the plan.
It's in the town's master plan.
It is.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
It has been for years,
For years.
that's how we made, when they wanted to put that new power plant in, the town made them really shattered way, because it was part of the, they didn't have to build a road, they built that whole road that they paid for it. We just cut the ribbon, and because it was in the master plan, you said you want your power plant, you build the road, and that's why Shattuck Way is there. The purpose is to get all that traffic out of Woodbury Ave.
That's right.
You know, all the big trucks and stuff that are coming in.
I think,
And the master plan eventually did go all the way to Godly, they did, it was phase 4.
Right.
Part of the plan, it's just, this is fulfilling the rest of the mountain.
it's debatable though to say you're gonna save a bunch of money by keeping
I don't think we
cars
have.
off of Woodbury,
No,
but we have to
no.
pay for a whole second road that's gonna have heavy traffic.
So why couldn't we offer them an incentive when there's something actual to offer an incentive to? I mean, right now, I get that we're sort of trying to prepare for the future, but when you have a real opportunity, why couldn't we offer them a tax incentive at that time?
Yeah, I mean,
Or something
bringing it
else.
back to the original here, the money that we received from Eversource to take care of our roads that they brought heavy equipment on downtown through a village here, shouldn't we be using that to help out the taxpayers that have put up with all this instead of putting it into a capital reserve where you might be able to build a road to, so
This
other
is
people
only,
can sell
this is
their
only
land?
1 year, we're talking, Eversource
has
is giving.
plenty of money to put their own road in, look what they've done around there. They want to sell
Eversource is
properties,
giving us
Eversource-
$400,000 because we put up with this. This is a way of trying, we feel, or try to build out some more industrial, commercial land, build a road so we can get it. We get other companies to come in here, we'll start paying bigger taxes and we'll get the money back for the road. It's, you know, you don't sell things from an empty wagon. Here, we get the road in, we get things going, it's easier to sell and develop.
Chairman, but my problem is that we're not selling anything, it's not ours.
No, it isn't.
We had a person in the other night in economic development was talking about the number of companies and businesses that are looking here in the seacoast and looking here in Newington, and the issue was land and accessing it.
Right.
The other thing coupled with that, we can take it to the bank that the power companies are going to be contributing less and less and less. We can debate and argue how much, but the fact remains, we need to do everything we can to build industry. Building out the business or building out retail is not gonna help us. The money to support this town is in the industry. And that's why we are promoting the industrial development, and that's why we need to make an investment in that land.
We're kind of saying it's, we're relying on Eversource eventually selling that land off, which maybe under the divestiture they have to do it, I don't know.
Well, we've been selling off all along. We're dealing with the big piece up here that the Mahoney family bought. We're dealing with them. We're dealing with other people to see if we can get business and commercial and development in it. We don't want just, we're looking for the high-end stuff so we get the big return on the money. The good jobs, the clean energy, the clean air, the whole 9 yards.
That's all good stuff, your proposal is to take the money that we got for destroying village roads and put it into building a road on private land so that they can sell it.
The answer to.
I think the idea is noble, I think you guys got the right idea, but.
The private roads that were destroyed, we talked about earlier on the highway, we have maps, and we have pictures, and we've had an engineering survey done, and Eversource is gonna put all the roads back into the condition they were supposed to.
It was a guarantee to
There
us.
was a guarantee, and that will be
Financially
it.
or by service?
Pardon, sir?
They're gonna do it for free, or they're gonna provide you the funds?
They're gonna do it. My understanding is part of the,
Well, he says funds and you say, you say funds and he says service.
My understanding was that if there's a road that they damaged by, to the tune of 20,000, and we want to, for example, Fox Point Road and that beautiful patch along the side of it, and we want to completely repave the road, there'll be some give and take, I believe, you know?
But they will pay or do it themselves, pay for that to be done.
that's my understanding, that's what
Right.
we're good.
I'll put a bow on it and start going back and forth, but I just think
Okay.
some of the money should go back into taking care of what our bills are for what we have to take care of instead of questionable, or maybe there's just not questionable, maybe there's two sides to investment like that.
We're gonna agree to disagree, I have no problem.
Back up a sec, Ted, that money I
I think
mentioned,
you're wrong.
somebody did provide money, I think they did test pits along that road you're talking and surveying. That money that they were gonna give us paid for that, and we didn't pay for that.
Right.
So there was some.
This is a capital reserve, it's not dedicated to a particular thing.
Right.
I think, I take Brandon's point that we wanna make sure that the current roads are made whole. That's the first priority before we build a new one. If you can do both, fine, and it sounds like you're negotiating with Eversource to get that done. But, this money, I think is only used to expand new roads once you get the other roads up to snuff.
Right.
We had a discussion.
And this is a reserve, we're not
Sounds like
gonna
you're
spend
gonna try
it.
to do both.
No, we're not gonna build this right away.
All right.
Yeah, it'll be,
Maintaining existing roads, never mind adding more.
it's gonna cost more than that, I assume, but it's seed money, if you wanna put on big seeds.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all right,
Oh, Jim?
yeah,
Question.
I was just gonna make a motion. I think that, so it seems like a wise investment and improvement to town, that particular, item, and I would move that, we vote and to accept the selectmen's budget for
item 3.
Well, that won't be over,
for
we'll do that
the capital reserve.
public hearing, though.
No, I'm moving the whole budget, the whole, capital reserve.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
All of these,
Yeah, selectmen's
From three-
selectmen's bottom line.
from 3 to 22,
Um,
you combine all of them into one vote?
That's unprecedented.
Wait, so this is the million, right? This is the million we're looking at? I mean, the 183, the 183.
Well, look, each one of these warrant articles will have a recommendation from the budget.
We're just doing the warrant articles.
Yes.
I'm still on the capital reserve.
Well, this is what.
Okay,
Well,
so
that's-
no, okay, so, yeah, so I would move we accept the Board of Selectmen's recommendation regarding number 3.
Is there a second?
Right.
Is there a number, or
I'll
is
second
that
that.
the 406?
We're voting on
It's
132,000.
it's on your long sheet, Jack, it's on the long sheet, it's
Why are we
easier.
on that tonight?
Hmm?
Why are we voting these tonight?
It's the town budget, we usually do the warrant articles after
I
the
thought we
town
did them all
budget.
to public hearing.
We'll take them up.
We'll take them up again, you have to take them all up again, but this is not
And
for our
put your
recommendation.
recommendation on the bottom,
Yeah,
Board of
oh,
Selectmen
we did-
recommendation, budget
Oh, I
recommendation.
thought that was public hearing.
So this is 10, all of these votes we've taken up
These
until
are
now are 10.
recommendations, not
Yeah.
binding.
Yeah, it's only the
Okay.
public hearing, we have to vote on all these things all over again, to be binding. And again, that's binding recommendation to the town
Capital
meeting.
reserve.
Okay, so we've got a motion, we have a second on 132,000 for this item? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Nay.
One, negative vote, okay. Langdon Library Building Capital Reserve Fund. Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about that one, if I may.
Okay.
The warrant article submitted was specifically for a parking lot extension, had nothing to do with the capital reserve fund. It was asking for 80,000 to expand and complete the parking lot project.
Right.
There'll be a lot of discussion coming up on this one, at least at the public hearing. 10,000 in the capital reserve fund is great, take it, but that has nothing to do with the warrant article.
Okay.
At town meeting, you could not change that because they'd be changing the purpose. I know, it's like we can do with the warrant article, but. that, just want to get some background, what that was, for. It's not cap reserve fund request, it never was.
Right, it was a standalone.
Right, standalone for a
thing.
parking lot.
For parking lot. And that warrant article is coming through, it's just gonna be.
We submitted it, and this is what it got changed to, so I don't know, but we have a meeting, hopefully tomorrow, we're gonna just go out and talk about it some more.
And just in a nutshell, I believe the reason the selectmen did this, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they were, really interested, as they might have mentioned at the meeting with the trustees, of having a historic district-wide parking plan completed.
I understand that was asked for 3 years ago, and never happened, but.
And then, so, to start saving for parking, they did put 10,000 in the library capital reserve fund so that they would start to build for parking.
So I'm saying, if that was voted in, you may see an amendment from the floor to go back to what was asked.
Okay, can you submit a warrant separately, so, send us
Another
a
one?
warrant?
Good.
With a
There's still
petition.
time, I think.
Well, the citizens would just.
You can do a
make the
petition
increase.
till February 4th. You can come to the town, the budget, we can't change the amount, right? It's either up
So
or
you
down.
could, you could do a warrant article through petition, or you could.
Specifically for
Make
the
a
parking
motion.
lot. Right, you could
Yeah,
still.
you could do it on the floor.
Do it on the floor of the motion.
Well, the problem is, yeah, you could, as a motion, you can increase the 10,000 back up to whatever you wanted on the amendment on the floor, and then that would be voted. But I'm just saying, the background on this is what it was.
It'd be almost nice if the town could vote on a thing, do we build parking lot at the library, or do we think about it and build it somewhere else? It's nice if that would be made clear to the voters.
Yeah, well, a little hitchy was in 2013, the library identified that it ran out of money and couldn't complete the parking lot.
Yeah.
But the selectmen, there was a verbal agreement to offset with so many funds, the selectmen, in 9/9/13 said the paving of the parking lot was discussed. President Wolsey stated the board might be able to find 7,000 for the paving project, but not 33,000, which they did. Then on 10/14/13, selectmen minutes state the board stated that if there were no funds left over in the library addition budget, it would advise to place it on the 2014 town meeting warrant. So 5 years ago, they said, well, put in the warrant article. So, and we didn't. We delayed it because the town was in the library paying $400,000 a year on the bond.
Yeah.
Did not want to burden the town anymore. So we done what the cost was at that time. So it just deferred it until now the bond's paid off. Instead of $400,000 or $300,000 from the town, we're asking for $80,000, which is significantly less. That library overfills twice a week. So, I mean, I don't know what to do about it now, probably on that one, but that's the item.
Is it a safety issue that the parking lot is overflowing?
Well, yeah, because on the meeting house end, I think Larry only owns 2 of those, and if you ever look, a lot of it's like families, young families and stuff coming in, there's a lot of programming going on that never used to happen, so, in the wintertime especially, it's tougher. And unfortunately, when they built the addition, at the lower, as you're first pulling in from the road, the lower corner of the parking lot, the drainage system there doesn't function enough. When it rains hard, it floods the parking lot. I can remember John Frank last year, he lost a piece of metal in his bucket, trying to fish it out of a foot-deep pile of water. So part of it's a safety issue. If it were extended up, the handicap would almost be level with the back door. You wouldn't have to go up that ramp.
How many places do you get into this?
What's that?
10?
10, I think it was.
10?
I think it's 10. The library occupancy is 211 by the fire department. Let me see. Currently, we exceed the parking capacity about 100 times a year. 10 spaces is almost double. It will improve accessibility for handicap. It's only 12 inches below the existing floor. The drainage would be added, nothing to do with the parking lot, but it has to be fixed. About 350 residents use the library every year. If it's postponed, who knows what the cost will be in a couple more years. I think we could do it, and then I know the cemetery would like to join in on it, go through where the stone wall is, cause it's more convenient for visitors and stuff.
Yeah, that's why.
And the library did pay, out of the trust funds, money for the engineering. The engineering is complete, it's done, it's paid for, the library paid for
I
that.
personally don't feel burdened. I feel like it's nice to go to the library, we have kids, we go there when there's a party going on. I park in the loonies and I walk. I don't know,
Mr. Chairman, may I speak to that?
I don't know, I mean, but if it's a safety issue for, you know, whatever, I understand it. But, me personally, I'm not burdened by it, that's just my perspective.
Selectmen, chime in if I misspeak. First, we support the concept, let's make that perfectly clear. We support the idea of parking. Our concern is a solution for that general area, and two, equally important, is a parking lot that could support the meeting house and the library. We have taken a cursory look at the plans for the septic system and where it's located on the side of the meeting house. There is potentially room to put a parking lot there that could service both buildings. The elevation would actually be higher. So what we wanna do is to look at that, because if we were to consider putting a parking lot between the meeting house and the library, we think it would be appropriate to involve a lot of the stakeholders up there, including cemetery, historic, recreation, and let them give us their input, because actually we're talking about building a parking lot that you would see from the road more than it was in back what's being proposed, but we could fit in more spaces. So we're not opposed to it. I wanna make that clear.
Well, it wasn't to me, I know, one of our trustees, Peter Wellsman, the director of both, had a meeting with the HTC, and she told me at least 2 years ago that the same conversation came up, and there was gonna be committees formed and nothing ever happened. And now it's 2 years later.
Yeah, I don't think the HDC has, you know, the staff or the resources to do the whole study themselves. I think it needs to be a collective effort. I agree, I think we need more parking, but I'm also, as a historic kind of person, I'm sensitive to how it looks. And I think the library plan is good from that standpoint. It's just not, I don't think it's quite enough cars. I don't want somebody else coming in and wanting to put a second parking lot in. I'd rather try to do a parking plan and solve the problem and say, this is it. This is what we're gonna have, you know, we're gonna have to make this work for everybody, as opposed to, you know, I don't know, maybe, you know, some of the church people wanna come in, or somebody else, the rec committee wants a bigger parking lot somewhere.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, we put the 10,000 for seed money to do a step forward to try to do some kind of a survey up there, but 5,000 that we told Peter Welch the other night when he was in here that would probably cover the cost of fixing that culvert problem right away. Then we can look forward to doing maybe a bigger scope of what we can do. Because I agree with John. The theory of parking up there is a problem. We can expand it, but we want to make it big enough so it'll handle the area up there. And I think that we can do that by spending a little bit more time looking at it.
I have a question. Is the warrant article, would these funds be dedicated to the parking lot plan as written, or is it just simply adding money to their capital reserve fund? Right, so we're not making any commitment to any particular plan by funding the library's capital reserve fund.
No, this is the library's own capital reserve fund.
Right, but no specific location. It's for the library.
That was the one we started before they did the addition, they took the engineering and that architecture, basically down.
As I understand, it's not even specific.
No, it's actually
It's just simply
building.
We're simply adding money to
Building,
the capital reserve.
Right.
So on that basis, I would support it just because, you know, I think the library's capital reserve kind of fund can't be too big, so I would move that we accept the requested 80,000.
80,000.
Although that's the warrant was for 80, right?
The submitted one, the
Selectmen submit the warrant articles.
Oh, so the warrant article is written for 10?
Yes.
But you will see it, town report at town, it's a 10.
So the question is, if you wanna put more money in,
Take a motion on
We
the
can't
floor.
We
change
can't
it.
do that, yeah, so I recommend, we recommend the warrant article as written.
Okay, and then if people wanna increase it at town meeting, then we can speak to that. Okay, all right, that may be the solution. Okay, we wanna vote on this?
For a second.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So,
That was 10. That was 10.
So that's, yeah, that's, you know, we're recommending the 10 selectmen are putting in. You know, and we're open to anything from the floor, that's why we have public hearings. Okay, conservation fund is next. Motion on that, 20,000 selectmen's figure, anyone wanna move that?
I'll move the 20,000.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any discussion on conservation fund?
What's the discrepancy?
The conservation chair had asked for $50,000 originally. The selectman noted that the account was at 274 and believed that by adding 294, we're almost at 300. There isn't currently a project identified. They wanted to learn more about a project and look forward to supporting it.
But I also thought the chairperson supported that.
Yes, she did.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you've got a good fund there now, just adding 20,000.
Right. Without a project identified, I think that's.
It doesn't happen frequently, but any conservation easement funds, if somebody takes land out of that, goes in there.
Oh, that's true, it fills it up, yeah. Okay.
That happened to me.
Any further discussion? All in favor of 20,000 for conservation fund?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay. Next, employee severance trust fund, 30,000, fairly straightforward, is there a motion on this?
Was that put that last year?
What number is that, John?
It's number 11 on my sheet here. Is this Article 11? It is, Article 11.
Right.
Were there expenditures in 2019?
Yes,
Yes.
several employees
You
leave.
put 300 in and people keep retiring.
I have a question. Is there a specific policy for, how much severance an employee gets?
Yes. Of course we are. Employees camp out at 240 hours in their vacation accounts, and when they retire, they can take those funds.
Okay, so it's a specifically calculated way?
Right.
Okay.
So we don't have a use it or lose it policy?
Over
Over
250.
two.
You can, I mean, just like, you can, whatever you earn, you can't carry any sick leave over, that gets zero at the end of the year, but vacation days can accumulate up to 240.
I mean, what is,
That's a big,
It's a lot.
this is,
It's a lot.
so,
Commercially
we're talking
standard.
severance, right,
Yeah.
not vacation.
I'm sorry.
It says severance, we're not talking vacation.
It pays,
It's
if
part
you
of
had
the-
2 weeks of vacation on the books and you hadn't used them and you retire and you get that vacation.
That's what it's for, buying out unused.
Buying out.
There's no,
All right, I'll move that we accept that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think that needs to be reviewed by the selectmen.
the policy
Two hundred and
itself
forty hours is
is
substantial.
very, very.
Just to throw a note in there, that they were 24-hour shifts, so that's only 10 days off. It's essentially 2 weeks,
Vacation days. 24 hours.
because they work a 24-hour shift.
federal government has 240, that's 30, 24.
I believe that's why we left it at that.
3 days in a day.
And the
Is
other
that the same
use
for
for,
police? Police work 24-hour shifts?
no,
Gotcha.
for every vacation that you don't take, you don't have to bring something in on overtime, so you
The
gotta,
other fire
banking
departments,
it in a way in a way.
do other fire departments work 24-hour shifts?
That's the nationals right now, is 2 hours. Yep.
Okay.
So I was thinking in a typical 8-hour.
Yeah.
So that changes my opinion on that.
Yeah, so it'd be 30 days for
Yeah.
somebody else, a month's vacation.
Alright.
Okay. You know, all right, any further discussion, all in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, abstentions? All right. The next one is, 25,000, this is number 13, equipment replacement and major repairs for highway vehicles. Any discussion on that?
Move the 25,000.
Okay, a second?
Second.
So you didn't break that one up like the fire?
Yeah.
And then all in one material
Oh,
budget?
no, we're breaking them out.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? This is replacement,
Or repair. The highway, we did it.
you couldn't have if it's all one combined, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not shown here, but the
Right.
selectmen have told me to separate them.
sorry.
Those warrant articles will be on the final warrant.
Oh, they will,
Yeah.
So these are separate articles, like for the backhoe and stuff.
This will become, we'll be separating this, so this will become highway equipment replacement, and the funds that are listed will be in it. The repair, line will be in a future year.
Okay, so
Those funds this year.
All right, so we're gonna recommend this, but you're not changing the amount, you're just changing the wording a little bit.
Right, exactly.
So the total between the two is gonna be 25.
yeah. See, just the title of this will change with the amount.
Right, it's gonna be 40,000 that's in there now for highway equipment
Right, it's
replacement.
now one item, you're turning it into two, but the total of the two will equal the
You
same
got it.
number.
You got it.
Okay. So we're,
Not 25 each,
No,
25 total.
right.
we're still voting on the 25,000. Emily?
I have a question. So we're gonna break it up, and then we're gonna have an account for major repairs. Now, what do we consider a just, can you remind me what we consider a major repair? Because we overexpended the highway department's repair budget and spent, I forget what the number was, a pretty significant amount in the backhoe. So I'm
Right,
just
there's a
curious.
$12,000 repair.
Yeah, so is there like a threshold that the town considers to be a major repair? I mean, is my question, that's my question. Is there a threshold, a dollar amount that we consider things to be a major repair versus just overspending?
Well, you know, if it has exceeded their line item, that might be considered a major repair, you know, their normal maintenance item.
Okay,
Or
well,
if it doesn't exceed
that's
your
not what
bottom
we
line,
did,
if it's
so-
gonna exceed your bottom line, then you take it out of the capital reserve. One way to do
Ooh,
it.
that's another way of
That's
doing it.
another-
If you can't cover the major repair by shuffling money around, then you've gotta go to the dip into capital reserve. So I guess it's generated by how big it is and how much spare money you have and how much you got. But it should be big. I mean, we mentioned before, we want people to budget for anticipated repairs in their regular budget and not just throw it in this capital reserve kitty. You know, if that's not-
Oil changes are routine,
That's
happen,
routine.
that's all routine basic stuff.
Right,
If
yeah.
you blow up an engine,
That's okay, yeah.
They're fortunate, the highway has a very good mechanic on payroll, who does a lot of work.
Okay, so can we vote on this? I think we've got the
Need to
motion.
vote on it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay, townwide revaluation. Okay, 25,000, how much we got in there? So that's more than 25,000.
We have $476 currently. This was recommended at town meeting, and I think budget committee too, that
476,000.
start
So it's
funding this for 4
effectively-
years out.
So 4 years, 5 years out. Okay, so we're basically just starting to save.
Right,
Right.
right.
The kitty's empty. Okay.
Right.
Sounds-
So this is a known, every 4 years, 5
Yeah.
years, we have to have
Yeah.
$100,000 there.
Somebody
Right.
mentioned the statewide property tax, and they found out there were towns weren't revaluing for 15 years. So their values were so low and out of whack that they were paying nothing. So they passed a law.
So we have a motion on this?
You do now.
Motion.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, second, all right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Okay. Historic district building restoration. That's just what we talked about, the stone school and everything.
Is that a new, is that gonna be new reserve?
That's a special warrant.
Eversource gave us this
that's for
$20,000.
that, yeah.
Actually gave it to the Historic District Commission and, with the condition that it be used on buildings restoration. And they also have to confer with the State Historic Preservation Office.
Okay. So this is money, it's money coming from Eversource that we don't have to
Right.
spend to
Right.
maintain the parsonage or something like that.
So it's no effect on the tax.
Right.
There's no effect on the tax rate, and it's money that we probably would spend, have to spend all anyway, okay. Is there a motion on this?
Sure.
And a second? So got a second?
Is there any reason why we're not spending? Why are we putting into a brand new capital outlay?
Well, because they got the money,
Capital reserve.
It's give you permission to
and
spend it.
when you get that donation, it's easier to put in the capital reserve.
Yeah,
than
the
to
capital
put in the
reserve,
general
especially
fund.
days for that.
They wanna know, it's earmarked money, that's the main reason.
And I'm sorry if I misled you, this is a special warrant article that won't be going into a capital reserve, it's just a standalone warrant article for historic restoration, sorry about that.
All right, so it's a standard warrant, so it's
It's
already
a special
spent.
warrant article.
They're very specific things they have to do in order to get it, they have to use it within 5 years, has to be approved, it's
Okay.
very specific.
So it's, all right.
So that's ranch,
That's basically,
They got a 5-year window to spend it in.
right,
Was that right?
yeah.
You know, it's like a capital reserve, but it's a standstill, 20 grand, it's dedicated for a particular cause.
Looks like getting a grant too, John, in a way, when you get money that you're gonna spend it on this project.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Okay, recreation facilities, 10,000 into a this is a capital reserve fund, I assume, or is it a?
Yes.
Okay, do we know how much is in it now?
What article?
37,150.
17. Okay, so we got 37,000, it's putting another 10 into it.
We building it up for a reason?
Play sets and swings, especially.
Oh, behind the old town hall,
tennis
that's
courts.
that playground.
Yeah, behind the old town hall, the recreation committee was saying that the swing sets are really in pretty bad shape. And that's extensively used also, well, not also, but with the summer program, they use all of that.
The road races, the school picnics, they all love music.
The equipment up here is kind of moving on a little bit, so it's time to look at it.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion on the 10,000?
A second?
So I'll second.
Just for discussion, for the tennis aficionado, then it also means they have to be drawn from if there's any major work on that tennis court.
Right.
So they do know they have it.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. Next is town generators, 10,000. Have we got money in that already?
We do, we have 40,271.
Okay. We're looking to replace some generators down the road? Is this replacement or repair?
Yes, we're expecting that we will have to replace or upgrade our current town hall
Town hall
generator at
generator.
some point.
All right, okay, fine, all right. Can I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Yeah, I'll give you a second, because John raised his hand first.
That's fine.
Any further discussion? Yeah, all in favor?
Because this is a shelter, there was grant money or other monies available towards generators usually. So that wasn't really. That's how the school got this.
That might have funded this one originally.
The school got theirs because we wanted the money, so we said, okay, you're
You're a shelter.
You're a shelter.
How much life do we have in our current generator, and is it
That's what I don't understand.
capacity?
It's below capacity, it's about 25% below capacity right now.
At this point, yeah, according to the bill inspector.
Police is pretty old.
Yeah, I'm gonna replace
It's
it.
in 06,
And
the
it
one that we have
funds-
here at town
It
hall.
runs this building?
Right, it's, unfortunately, it only runs part of the building, that's why the building inspector has been talking about
Right.
eventually upgrading it for a
Is
shelter,
there a
we have
need
to
that you
have
have to have the whole
certain,
place?
right.
You do, you have to have the whole place going?
For a
I don't know
shelter.
about the whole place, but certainly the
I think
auditorium,
almost